amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. Or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
Or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals. But I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but you've left me no choice. I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is really serious, and lately you seem to really not care. I've been there for you since day one, and I know you think I'm going to keep ticking, but no, my friend, I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to the good times, when we were more active and ate more healthy foods, and you checked on me every once in a while? Is that too much to ask? I don't want to leave, but unless you stop ignoring me, what else am I supposed to do? Remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Doing the minimum to control your high blood pressure isn't doing enough. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get your blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late. Find out how at heart.org/blood pressure. Check, change, control. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jason Derulo. I love that music connects to people all over the country. But unfortunately, so does something else. Childhood hunger. 15 million kids struggle with hunger right here in America. And yet, every year, billions of pounds of surplus food in the U.S. go to waste instead of going to the children in need. Feeding America is working to change this. The Feeding America nationwide network of food banks rescues this surplus of food to help provide meals to families in virtually every community in the United States, including yours. But they just can't do this alone. Join me in the fight against hunger in America. For more information on what you can do to get involved, visit feedingamerica.org. That's feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America. A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone. Let's all stop what we're doing right now and take a moment. That felt good, huh? Just like that, we had a nice special sort of moment together. Of course, they don't all need to be quiet moments to be special. They could be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. Sounds like somebody agrees. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Today, call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
What are you talking about?
No, it's not him. There is only one more. There is only one more. That's it. One more.
Get her ass!
No!
They saw your team put up zero effort.
Wake up!
Remember in the old days, they used to have oxygen for them. Where's the oxygen?
Play like absolute just garbage.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
Yay!
Man. Can you keep it down? I'm trying to introduce here. With Errol Marks and Speedy Beatty.
You're not even a has-been. You're never was. You're never was.
5 days until Christmas. Santa Claus is coming to town. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. Remember, you can listen to our show every single week by going to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including The Loudmouth, which airs every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in to all our shows is you go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to call the show tonight, and we all know if you want to argue or you want to attack one of us, including me, yours truly, you can call our show at 631-672-3108. Speeder, what's up, man?
Well, one thing you could attack me for is my attempt at baking Linzer tarts last weekend, and it came out completely crumbly at first. And
hold on, who was baking what? Linzer tarts?
Linzer tarts. They're these cookies that have jelly on the inside of it and powdered
I
sugar.
know what they are. You were cooking?
I was baking. My family always did it. I did it at my cousin's house this time because I did it for them last year too as well. They were baking all kinds of cookies as well, but the first batch came out pretty crumbly, so my aunt had to help me with that. It was really bad.
No, I like Linzer tarts. I don't know if I want you touching my Linzer tarts.
Yeah, based on my baking experiences, she had to fix a lot with that
Well,
one.
I will say something, and I know a lot of people know how crazy I am off air. I am just as crazy as I am on air. And today I picked up Speedy, and I was, doing my thing with Speedy, asking him silly questions. And I was heading to 7-Eleven. I had to pick up a bunch of waters. So I pull up to 7-Eleven. I'm cracking up, and I walk into 7-Eleven, and I'm looking. I decided I didn't want water. I wanted a Slurpee. So I go to the Slurpee machine. I'm filling it up, and people are coming in and going out. And it's just me and the 7-Eleven guy. I go up to the 7-Eleven guy, and I'm buying my Slurpee. And for 1 second, I stand there, and all of a sudden, I just break out in tears, laughing my ass off. For some reason, I just started laughing. This guy's looking at me. He's like 216. I am hunched over laughing. And he's like, what's so funny? And I was like, I just kept laughing and laughing. I walk outside and I look at Speedy. He says, what are you laughing about? I said, I don't want to say it on air, but I said something to him before we got to 7-Eleven. And I just popped into my head when I was filling up my Slurpee, and I couldn't stop laughing. It was one of the funniest. I asked Speedy, was I not laughing the whole way home?
Yeah, and I sympathize for that guy because he was awkward in there. It was awkward being the only one in there.
But you didn't see it. How do you know if he was awkward?
It was awkward. So
how do you know it was awkward if you weren't there?
Because if I were a service employee, I would not blame him for thinking that way.
Well, if somebody just breaks out laughing.
When you're the only one in the room without context.
Hold on. So if somebody comes right in and just stands out and asks for, like, I don't know, one of those Powerball cards or whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, and you started laughing randomly without even speaking. Yeah,
it was funny.
It would be weird.
Well, so you're weirded over everything. Everything that it's said about whatever we are talking about off air, you have to be weirded from it. So that would be weird if somebody.
If I was a random service employee, yeah. Without any context of knowing you, yes, I would be weirded out.
Oh, man, that's Speedy, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, at 8:30, we'll be talking to Texas Rangers play-by-play broadcaster and studio analyst Jared Sandler. This is the first time he's going to be on a show. He was doing a play-by-play when the new World Series champion, the Texas Rangers, won their first World Series in their history. So very excited to have Jared on the show at 9 o'clock. We will be talking to former Bengals and Commanders tight end Rick Doc Walker. So you like that? Rick Doc Walker. You like that?
Yep.
Yeah. Could you do that?
Rick Doc Walker. Yours was better.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Speedy Petey.
I'll give you a 7. I'll give me a 5.
Aaron Rodgers confirms he is not coming back this season, as we all predicted. I didn't believe that he was coming back. All right. And I know when the stories were coming out and it started to pass through Pat McAfee, and then Pat McAfee had him on the show, he came out and said that he has there's no chance in hell he's coming back this year after the Jets were completely eliminated after that absolute debacle against Miami. So thank you to Rodgers. I don't know why anybody thought he was coming back, but we will get into that. Reports say that Robert Saleh could be on the hot seat more than people think. Well, I have a lot to say about this tonight. There is no doubt in any Jets fan's mind or Jets man's mind that Robert Saleh should be on the hot seat. He is in a lot of trouble. And I understand that Aaron Rodgers is speaking out for him, Nathaniel Hackett, Joe Douglas, but after a complete debacle of the season, especially in the second half season where they can't buy a win, they did beat the Texans about a week ago and gave Zach Wilson Player of the Week, and then he has a concussion, and every single I guess fan out there that's not a Jet fan has been sticking up for Zach. I don't understand it. All of a sudden, Zach has everybody sticking up for him except the Jet fan. So we will get into that. Ex-running back Rashard Mendenhall tweets, "I'm sick of an average white guy's commenting on football. You're not good at football." Excuse me. I had to cough there. What the hell is Rashard Mendenhall speaking about now? He's not in the NFL anymore, and now he's bringing up racial comments that is going to stir up Twitter more than it probably has over the last couple of years, with some of the anti-Semitic views from basketball players and some of everybody's thoughts, which is going on in professional sports. So we'll get into that. Arthur Smith, Pete Carroll, and Ron Rivera are amongst coaches that might not have a job at the end of the season. Oh, by the way, Pete Carroll will have a job at the end of the season. If it's not with Seattle, it would be somewhere else, and unless he wants to retire.
That's what his rating. He wants to retire, possibly.
Oh, well, if that happens, well, then that could happen. But Ron Rivera definitely is losing his job.
It looks like they're going to target Dan Quinn if Pete Carroll retires.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that's a good move by him.
It is good.
I think it's a great move. Yeah. And this is a guy that's been successful as a defensive coordinator with the Cowboys. And now I thought he was successful with Atlanta. They choked because of Kyle Shanahan, the guy that everybody thinks San Francisco is never going to lose, and they're winning the Super Bowl this year because, hey, the team is expected or whatever. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Vegas has them the favorites of winning the whole thing. So it's crazy. We will get into that. MLB Network's Jon Morosi says that the Yankees are the favorites to land Yamamoto. I've been saying that for the last few weeks, and I still believe it, as Tyler Glasnow is now an LA Dodger. So, which means the Dodgers have no chance of getting Yamamoto. And I've been saying that when that happened during our show. And I still believe that the Yankees are going to be the favorites because the Yankees are not going to lose another Japanese pitcher to a LA team. So we all know Ohtani going to the Angels, which the Yankees desperately wanted Ohtani when he became available from Japan. And now they're not losing. They're not losing Yamamoto. The Brewers are very likely to trade Corbin Burnes either this offseason or during the season, as the New York Mets and the New York Yankees, which the Yankees have come out, and a couple of writers have come out today to say that if the Yankees lose out on Yamamoto, they're going to go full force after Corbin Burnes. So it's interesting. We'll see what the Mets do, because I think Corbin Burnes makes a lot of sense to the Mets, as David Stearns is running that organization now. And could the Warriors be making trades now that Draymond Green is suspended? I would think yes. I would think yes, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get into it, because I know a lot of people are speaking about the Aaron Rodgers thing on, I guess you could say the Pat McAfee show, and a lot with the Jets. So let's get into the Jets, because the Jets are the lead story right now. ESPN's Dan Graziano reports that Robert Saleh's seat is hotter than people think as the Jets head coach. He also mentioned that since Woody Johnson didn't hire Saleh and could be more of an incentive for him to get rid of Saleh. Saleh is 16-33 in his coaching career, with only 3 wins in 3 years in the month of November and December. Aaron Rodgers said on the Pat McAfee show he believes that Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas, and Nathaniel Hackett should stay here. Rodgers also announced that he is 100% sure he is not playing this season. After losing 30-0 to the Dolphins in Week 15, the Jets are officially eliminated from the playoffs. First of all, we will go into the Robert Saleh thing after the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. Nobody thought that Aaron Rodgers was coming back unless the Jets were definitely or had definitely had a chance to make the playoffs. And the Jets didn't have a chance to make the playoffs really since the week they lost against Kansas City. And I know they weren't completely out of there after they lost against Kansas City, but you knew everything was moving towards that. And the Jets all season long had problems with their offensive line. They've had problems with their offense. They have no secondary wide receiver. Let's be honest. Alan Lazard has been horrible for the Jets. It was a horrible signing. He's making, 12, 13 million a year. It didn't make any sense. Now, obviously, Aaron Rodgers was one of the reasons why the Jets decided to go after Alan Lazard. And Garrett Wilson is still having a good year, even though he's had terrible quarterback play, not only from Zach Wilson, you name it, I'm not even going to name the quarterbacks because it really doesn't mean anything. Simeons, anybody that's been the quarterback for the New York Jets besides Aaron Rodgers, which was only 4 plays this year, has been absolutely terrible. There is no excuse right now for Jet fans to sit here and even Jet fans that aren't Jet fans should be sticking up for Zach Wilson. Now, I feel bad for the kid, the concussion situation, leaving the game, and that could be the last time we see Zach Wilson for the rest of the season because he doesn't look like he's playing this week. It looks like Simeons is playing this week. Am I right?
Everything I've heard, yeah.
So he could play this week. I don't know who's going to play. No, there was no announcement, but it's not going to be Zach Wilson. But this team, as a whole, offensively, has been one of the worst offenses we've ever seen. This offense is putrid. It's terrible. You can't run the ball anymore. Breece Hall can't touch the ball, and when he does touch the ball, he can't run more than 2 yards, and usually it's negative yards. They can't throw the ball because if Garrett Wilson isn't double or triple team in the open field, you put him in the slot, it doesn't work in the slot. You put him on the outside, it doesn't work on the outside. You have nobody else that can catch the ball. Conklin couldn't catch the ball all season long. And when he does catch the ball, he gets 1 or 2 catches, and then they lose him in the open field because nobody can get open. Nobody. Alan Lazard drops the ball more than, I don't know, a milkman can pick up a milk bottle, okay? He can't catch. Nobody could do anything on this team offensively. And the offensive line, ever since Elijah Vera-Tucker has been out for the season, tearing his Achilles, this team can't do anything right. Mekhi Becton, and I've been sticking up for this kid for a long time. Mekhi Becton is the worst left tackle in the NFL. It's crazy. For all the years that I have tried to stick up for this kid, the knee injury after knee injury, even the first year that he played, he was amongst the league's top left tackles. I think he was ranked 6th or 7th as a left tackle in the league. And they were calling him the big ticket. He's the big lousy ticket now because the Jets are not going to be able to trade him. They might as well ship him to the shipyard. He stinks. There's nobody that will pick up this kid. And if they do, they'll move him to the guard position or he'll be riding the bench because he doesn't belong as a starter in the NFL. The guard positions, Lincoln Tomlinson is a complete bust. Joe Douglas, another failure at the offensive line. The guard position, he started off really, really good. I know me and Josh were speaking about it early in the season. He looks really, really good. But over the last couple of weeks, the guy cannot block a toothbrush. He couldn't block. I don't even think he could block a mini. What do they call those mini cars? Mini Matchbox cars.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
Hot
even.
Wheels?
No,
Hot
they
Wheels,
call
yeah.
them. They call them minis. I guess those mini little cars that only fit 2 people. He couldn't block that. The guy stinks. He stinks. You're paying a guy $16 million a year to do nothing.
Maybe he's training with Evan Neal too much.
I don't know what it is. Okay. Their right tackle position, I don't know who it is. It's this guy, it's that guy. You're putting Max Mitchell, he's failed over there. You move him to the guard position, he's failed in the guard position. Nobody can block anybody but Tippmann. That's the only player on this offensive line that is going or looks like he could amount to anything in the NFL as an NFL starter. Offensively, Dalvin Cook has been putrid, terrible. It was a terrible pickup. Everybody thought, oh, wow, this 1-2 punch. I was one of those guys. This 1-2 punch is one of the worst 1-2 worst punches. They can't do nothing offensively. And what Miami did to them on Sunday was absolutely embarrass Robert Saleh. And the fact that you're hearing stories that Mike McDaniels didn't want to put the game out of complete unreaching heights, which we saw him do against the Broncos. And because he's so close with Robert Saleh, and he said, you know what, I'm not going to put it up 70, 80 points, because he probably could have, because the Jets defense has been on the field 90% of the time all season long. I feel bad for these defensive players. I feel bad for Sauce Gardner. I feel bad for DJ Reed. I feel bad for CJ Mosley. I feel bad for Quentin Williams. We're trying to find excuses for this defense. I don't blame the defense. If I was the defense, I'd say, you know what? Let the offense play defense. I don't want to play. I don't want to be on the field. I don't want to waste my time. It's embarrassing. This team is a complete embarrassment. And Robert Saleh, okay, now let's get to Robert Saleh. And Aaron Rodgers, I don't care what he said on the Pat McAfee show, that he thinks that Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas, and Nathaniel Hackett should keep their job. It's not their fault that he got hurt in the beginning of the season. Let me ask you a question, Aaron, before we get into the Robert Saleh thing. If you didn't get hurt in the first game, do you really think with this offensive line you were going to win anything? Do you really think that the way this offensive line has been fighting injury after injury after injury, and this offense has been fighting injury after injury after injury, you were going to be any good? I love Aaron Rodgers. I think he's still one of the elite quarterbacks in the league. I still believe he can stand in the pocket and make accurate throws, darts to anybody he wants to throw to throughout the league. But this team, there's no way they're winning next year if they don't fix this offensive line. And then Robert Saleh, I'm going to go back to that. Robert Saleh, besides looking pretty on the sideline, nice, beautiful beard, shaved head, great shape, showing your muscles, tall, splendid man, standing on the sideline. And I remember you on San Francisco screaming at the referees, dancing and prancing around when your defense isn't listening to you on the sidelines. Where is that? Where is that? What are you doing sitting over there and itching your nose or scratching your ass or picking yourself? What are you doing? You sit there and you're clapping your hands and blowing kisses to the fans. Nobody gives a crap about it. This team has played absolute terrible defense in the second half. They've given up on the team in the second half. And offensively, from the beginning of the game to the end, there is no offense. And then everybody's laughing. You have Mekhi Becton laughing on the sideline when you're losing 30-0 against the Miami Dolphins, a team that in the beginning of the season, a lot of people thought you were better than. They're going to the playoffs. They could go to the Super Bowl this year. And what are you going to say about that when they go to the Super Bowl, a place that everybody thought you were going to? And then Robert Saleh, after the game, again, making excuses, trying to find ways to snake his way out because he thinks he's safe because Aaron Rodgers speaks up and whatever Aaron says goes. It's embarrassing when your quarterback, who hasn't played more than 4 snaps this year, has to speak out for you. And Joe Douglas, where are you hiding? Are you hiding under the desk, the table, the mic? Why haven't you spoken or speak out before the season started? You're like, oh, man, we're going to have a chance to win a Super Bowl. We got Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers played 4 snaps. Season's over. You're sitting here, and we haven't heard from you all season long. All we hear is from the fans. All we hear from Fireman Ed. All we hear is from this garbage of a team that speaks out. Garrett Wilson after the game, numbing and screaming and saying, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You're Garrett Wilson. You were speaking out that you're one of the best wide receivers in football. Nobody can stop you. Why is everybody stopping you this year? And I still think you're having a good season. I'm going to go back. Your season for a guy that has no good quarterback play, you still have 800 and some odd yards. You're still going to break 1,000 yards with the just terrible quarterbacking. But I mean, everybody, all the Cowboy fans talking about CeeDee Lamb before anybody knew who he was from Oklahoma, they were like, oh, why would we draft CeeDee Lamb? And now CeeDee Lamb, with all the putrid offensive players that the Cowboys have, and by the way, he's the only offensive option the Cowboys have, he still has 1,200 yards. He still has fucking 7-8 touchdowns. It's annoying. And yes, you heard me curse because I don't curse on this show. So when I am speaking and I'm cursing on the show, you're going to listen how frustrated I am about this team.
Yeah, it's a tough road when you look at even the defense now finally showing some leaks as well. And Robert Saleh, that's your job. You're supposed to game plan this defense, especially when the Dolphins have no Tyreek Hill. Why is Sauce Gardner not shadowing Jalen Waddle the whole game, or at least
how open was
of the
he?
time? Yeah, he was beating DJ Reed a lot on both inside routes, slants, and then the deep ball. And Sauce Gardner, like, oh, he wants to play his side. Yeah, we've seen when the Seahawks did that with Richard Sherman after a couple of years, good teams, good offenses start to adjust to that kind of thing. You saw Atlanta do that. You saw the Eagles do that at certain points when they were in the playoffs.
The Eagles, they're a joke too.
No, I mean, when in 2015 and 16, when the Seahawks kind of had Richard Sherman only do
I know what you mean.
Side.
I know what you mean. I'm just speaking about Seattle right now.
Yeah, but that is, Saleh was actually on that coaching staff, ironically enough, too. When you don't adjust, it doesn't matter how good your defense is. A good offense should be able to adjust that kind of thing. And the Dolphins were doing that the entire game. And then on offense, I mean, the offense speaks for itself. The offensive line was terrible. The wide receivers, like you're saying, Garrett Wilson's the only one that's doing anything, and even he's getting double teamed. Jalen Ramsey, when you have a top corner like him, shut him down. And
CeeDee Lamb's getting double teamed. Why is he getting 100 yards every single game?
Yep, and that's because you don't have a game plan for that kind of thing. Now, with Aaron Rodgers still there, obviously Nathaniel Hackett will probably come back, but it shows that Nathaniel Hackett is really more of a product of Aaron Rodgers than anything else at this point. I don't know what you can trust at this point. And Robert Saleh, if he doesn't start saying the right things, he might be on his way out.
The coaching is putrid right now with this team. They have nothing. Ulbrich is probably getting a job, or he's going to be interviewed in the offseason for a coaching job. I think he's been fantastic as a defensive coordinator. I think he could be very successful in the NFL as a head coach in this league. I think he's done fantastically over the last 2 years with the Jets defense and really bringing this defense together. Yes, he has weapons, but Robert Saleh, for a guy that's a defensive mind and a guy that has preached defense in the second half, where's your team defensively? What is happening in the fourth quarter? Why is everybody giving up? Why is the secondary giving up? I understand they're tired. I understand they're out, but they look like they don't even want to be on the field because they know the game is over. It's been over since the first quarter.
And again, that's when you also see coaching downfalls start to happen too, is when a talented team lacks effort. And you saw that with the Giants at the end of the McAdoo tenure. The Giants defense in 2016 was really good. 2017, they carry over a lot of the same talent, and they even got upgrades. They got even guys on paper that were supposed to be better, and they just didn't play for him in the second half of the season. They still had Spagnuolo there before he went to the Chiefs, but still, that it was just not a good situation. You've seen other teams do that kind of thing too. Obviously, the Chargers with Brandon Staley, who just got fired recently too. I mean, it's not a great defense on paper like the Jets are, but they still have some talent on the defense.
I don't know as a Jet fan, and I'm a big Jet fan, and everybody knows that I stick up for this defense. And the defense supposedly is one of the top 5 defenses in the league.
Oh, yeah.
Not right now. I mean, they're not ranked in the top 5 because
they're behind now the 49ers, the Browns, and the Ravens, but they're still pretty good.
They're great. But here's the thing. What are they in the fourth quarter? Go look at what the Jets do in the fourth quarter, giving up on plays in the fourth quarter. They're not a great fourth quarter defense.
No.
They haven't been all season long. And that's when you're trying to win these games. Are you going to do that next year with obviously a better offense and Aaron Rodgers behind the helm? Are you going to do that? Or are you going to choke because, hey, you know what? Aaron Rodgers isn't the same quarterback he once was with Green Bay.
Yeah, you hope it's just them being tired thing and not, like you're saying, a situational defense mental thing. Leaf Paluska says the Jets made a mistake not hiring Mike McCarthy. I mean, I don't know if they're going to get Mike McCarthy anyway. They didn't know they were trading for Aaron Rodgers at that time. Mike McCarthy was hired by Dallas in 2020. Like, they weren't in that.
Well, no, yes, they were. They were interviewing Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, but were they in the market to get Aaron Rodgers at that time?
No, but they were interviewing Mike McCarthy.
Okay.
They failed to get him.
Okay,
they did. He was interested. Here's the problem: they didn't want to give Mike McCarthy his coaching staff. They wanted to pick their coaching staff.
Right.
and that wasn't going to work.
Which is the same thing we talked about last week with owner stubbornness getting in the way.
Same thing with Matt Rule.
Yeah.
The Jets wanted to bring in Matt Rule, but they told Matt Rule, we're going to bring in our own coaching staff to coach with you. He didn't want that. That's why he took Carolina's job.
Another stubborn ownership group.
But this is the problem with the Jets. Where do you come off picking and choosing and deciding on how this team is supposed to be run when you fail every single year? And as a Jet fan, and I'm going to speak out as a Jet fan. If you're a Jet fan, you can't sit here and say, oh, it's all peas and carrots. Oh, it's not Zach Wilson's fault. It's not. Oh, Zach Wilson had an offensive line. He'd be a better quarterback, which is Crockett, you know what? Because going into week 3 and 4, when he looked putrid, besides against Kansas City, all right, let's be honest, their offensive line was healthy. Elijah Vera-Tucker was there. That offensive line was playing well. Why wasn't he? That's an excuse. That's another excuse for the Jets organization to find a way to keep Zach Wilson next year. He doesn't belong here. He shouldn't be here. This team needs to figure out what their future is at the quarterback position. And if it's not Aaron Rodgers, with Aaron Rodgers coming out and saying he's playing past 2024, so he's playing 2 years, which I predicted he's going to play 2 years. What are you going to do when he leaves?
Leaf also says the last winning season was Mike McCagnon. Since
No question.
Garbage, and they fired him.
And he stink too.
They picked the wrong guys. Okay, so did Douglas. It's literally the same. I mean, yeah, to an extent. I mean, Douglas did not get the quarterback position and hasn't gotten the offensive line outside of Vera-Tucker, but Vera-Tucker's now 2 straight major injuries. How much can you trust that too? Now,
you can't.
Yeah, it's not something that you're going to know in the scouting report when a guy is hurt, but you also see like good players fall in the draft for a reason too, when you're not expecting them to have this mysterious injury. And then all of a sudden they out of nowhere supposed to be a 1st round pick and fall all the way to the 2nd or 3rd round. So that kind of thing, maybe they could have looked at too. He also says, Woody, goodbye. All right, we'll see if you can find some investors to buy the team. Maybe you could go get James Dolan.
Well, everybody keeps attacking Woody Johnson. Woody Johnson spends his money, does he not?
Oh yeah.
He opens his pocket. Why is Woody Johnson to be blamed for this? Woody Johnson didn't hire Robert Saleh. No, he didn't. Did Woody Johnson hire Joe Douglas? He did not. It was Chris. Now, I like Joe Douglas. I still think Joe Douglas could make this right. I don't know if Robert Saleh is the right guy. As a matter of fact, I'm going to predict he's not. Look at what Mike McDaniels is doing right now in Miami. He's funny as hell. By the way, I would love to interview Mike McDaniels. He is funny. Is anybody watching Hard Knocks? I haven't had a chance. I want to wait until the season is over. I want to watch the whole thing. I watch bits and pieces of it. He is hilarious. Just his personality. He's weird. He's dancing on the sidelines. He's talking to his players. He knows all about hip hop and all that. He's funny, man. That's what you want as a coach. You want a guy that's going to hang out with you, but knows the game. He's going to be serious when he's out there, and he's a genius offensively. The guy's never played football. I mean, he looks like a Smurf on the field. Look at him. He's like 5'0", 100. He's got these weird, big, thick glasses, and he runs and jets off the field during the half. I mean, he's fast as some of his players. He's like a little ant. He's hungry. He's going after the food. I don't know, but he is fun to watch. The Miami Dolphins are fun to watch. The Jets, it's lousy. I can't sit here and say, oh, I'm so happy to wear the green and white. I'm so happy to watch this team next year. I don't know what this team's going to be next year. As a matter of fact, I know what this team's going to be. You're going to have Aaron Rodgers running this team in the offseason. They're going to bring back all these Green Bay Packers. You're going to bring Devontae Adams, and now Aaron Rodgers will stay healthy. Devontae Adams will tear his ACL or his Achilles next year, and we lose Devontae Adams, and we give up a ton of draft stock for him. Great season again for the New York Jets as we choke again.
And Lyle's mentioning in the comment section too, Alan Lazard will stay there as well because of Aaron Rodgers. Well, you better make it work with Alan Lazard.
Another piece of garbage.
Because he hasn't worked it well with any other quarterback. Remember, he was signed as an undrafted free agent by the Jaguars too. He was bad over there. He only got good once he got to the Packers the second half of that season. And ever since then, he's really been striving off of Aaron Rodgers. I like his skill set. I think he's a good route runner, but he's, like you said, he's got drop problems. He's not really quick off the line.
Piece of garbage, as a Boston fan would say. Piece of garbage.
And the routes that the Jets are not getting him involved in is not very good. And like you were saying, there's a big difference between innovative coaches and guys that are just like stubborn in their own ways too. And we've had this problem with the Jets in years past too, where the Jets coaches are very stubborn. Mike LaFleur was like that too. He wants to run his offense his way and not adjust very well. And Robert Saleh is starting to get like that on the defensive side of the ball, and that doesn't help for a head coach.
Okay, so let me guess who's on the phone. All right. Is he from Boston?
Is he? Well, maybe originally.
He's now living in Tampa,
That
right?
would be correct.
Let me hold on one second. I'm thinking here. Is it Jeff from Tampa?
It is Jeff from Tampa.
All right, let's hear it, Jeff. What do you have to say about this?
Errol, I get your frustration, man. I do. I completely get your frustration. But as a Jets fan myself,
oh God.
I think we're going to have an unbelievable year next year.
Mm-hmm.
Mekhi Becton's going to come back even thinner. He already knew what to do last year. He lost some weight. Next year will be better. Elijah Vera Tucker will be healthy. We'll have a healthy Aaron Rodgers. You know that the doctors implanted like chrome into his Achilles, so it'll be stronger than ever, right? They're going to dip him in gold-plated massage oil, right? He's going to look great glistening out there when he runs out of
Is he going to hang out with Deshaun Watson?
I'm going to say that too.
and the other thing is all the Jets that we need to sign, the Bryce Huffs, those guys, I think they'll take less to stay around because Aaron Rodgers set the example, and our answer at wide receiver is in the draft.
Oh.
We're in perfect position to get exactly the receiver we need.
And you know damn well the New York Jets are not drafting a wide receiver because they're going to go heavily after Devontae Adams in the offseason, as everybody has said, including you.
Doesn't matter. I do believe that, but it doesn't matter because we'll still need a young guy and we'll still need other receivers. Lazard's been terrible. I agree with you. Randall Cobb is trash.
Oh my God. I would rather eat corn on a cob than watch him play on the field.
But I still think because they need help on offense, they'll draft a receiver. They'll draft a receiver. Maybe not the first round, but definitely the second round. Right? We'll have to wait and see what our Jets do in free agency, but you never know. There's a guy that no one's talking about because Marvin Harrison Jr. is in the draft, but we're in perfect position to get Malik Neighbors.
We're in perfect.
Jeff, I'm trying to figure out who paid you to say that.
Just
you don't know if that's positive about the Jets.
For all the Jet fans out there that knows Jeff from Tampa, everybody knows that he is a Boston fan. He's a New England fan. All of a sudden, he's saying,
convinced me.
I convinced you on this garbage?
Wait, Jeff, are you going reverse Mikey C?
I have a better chance of being a New England fan next year.
No, I like listening to how Errol just talks about how Joe Douglas is the greatest, all his draft picks are the greatest. No matter, I have been convinced that he's right. I'm on board. Full on Jets fan.
First of all, I have never said Joe Douglas's drafts have been perfect. Okay,
he's never missed except for Zach Wilson. He's never missed.
No, Mekhi Becton. Shut up, Jeff.
No, he's
you know what, Jeff?
He's going to be in better shape.
You're like a flea that just keeps biting. Okay, you're trying to get up my crotch, and I'm trying to kill you before you get there. You're
crazy. You're
I'm
absolutely
crazy. I'm crazy.
Next year is the first year of 3 Super Bowls in a row.
Hold on one second. I'm not the beef, and I'm not talking about Dak Prescott. Okay.
No,
the beef would never praise Dak Prescott like that now.
Well, that's because he threw him under the bus.
Dude, we draft Malik Neighbors. You better get the confetti ready. You better get the confetti ready.
You don't even like Neighbors. You don't even think he's the second best wide receiver in this draft.
I think he probably is.
No, you said that's not what you told me. Did you not tell me that he isn't? You don't believe he's the second best wide receiver in this class?
I never said that.
Yes, you did.
No, I never said that.
You like the Washington kid?
Odunze, he's good. I'm not sure Odunze has the breakaway speed that. I mean, he's fast. He's really good. I'm not sure Odunze is better than
Neighbors.
Yeah.
How about the other kid on LSU?
Thomas.
Yeah.
Thomas.
I don't. Yeah, he's not. He again, like I don't want to diminish any of these guys. Very good. He's not. He's definitely not as good as Neighbors.
Yeah, he's probably more like a late first round pick.
And I like the kid from Florida State too.
But you never know with these LSU wide receivers who's going to be like. You could kind of see it with Garrett Wilson and Olave that Garrett Wilson was going to be the guy and have a better career than Olave. You never know.
Olave's been pretty good.
Guys. Well, no, he's still pretty good, but you never know with these LSU guys because if you go back, everyone was all over Odell Beckham, and he's had a nice career. Jarvis Landry might have been better.
Well,
maybe
more consistent.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Odell Beckham can't stay healthy, and even Jarvis Landry over the last couple of years hasn't been healthy either.
Who was talking about Jarvis Landry before? No one.
Nobody.
It was all Odell Beckham.
Yes. And then LSU always has these good wide receivers. We've seen it. Jefferson, obviously, the best wide receiver in football. We speak about Chase over there with the Bengals.
best. Garrett Wilson's the best.
Yeah, okay.
Garrett Wilson's the best LSU wide receiver.
Ohio State.
No, I just said best receiver in the league.
No, he's not. And I never
Yes,
said that he was.
dude,
I never.
would be. You don't
No,
think
he's
his
not.
numbers would be skyrocketing through the freaking roof if Aaron
We still have
Rodgers
to see it first.
We have to see it first. I think he
We
has
don't. As Jets
14,
fans,
1,500
we just
yards.
need to take Errol's word for it.
Oh yeah, I never said that. I never said that. Smart ass.
He's the greatest wide receiver in football.
Oh yeah.
If you didn't say it, then I'm saying it now. He's the best wide receiver in football.
Yeah. And what made you turn into a Jet fan again? Was it me?
Listening to this show, it's honestly intoxicating.
So you're basically been getting drugged by all the stuff that Kenny loves to smoke, and now you're turning into a Jets fan.
So Jeff, let me ask you a question. Which linebacker is the star coming out of the draft this year? Let's hear this one.
Hold on, let me go. I got to go into the list.
Oh, there he's got the list, ladies and gentlemen. He's checking it twice.
I still get the emails.
Got to check out who's naughty or nice.
Who will be the next Zayvon Collins?
The next failure.
Uh-oh. You're going to trigger Jeff at this point.
Listen, I like to trigger.
Hold on. Talk about something else while I find.
You want us to talk about something
No,
else?
he's trying to figure out how his response
You know
is
what?
going to be.
Since he's becoming a Jet fan, I'm going to become a New England fan because he loves to tell us how great these secondary wide receivers are over there in New England. Oh my God, they're great. They're fantastic. They catch everything. Meanwhile, their offense is just one of the worst offenses in all of football. And they're deciding to part ways with Bill Belichick after winning 6 Super Bowls. Great job. Robert Kraft playing with his yank and playing with himself as he goes over there and jerks his janky.
They're terrible.
What? What?
No one cares about the Patriots. They're awful.
Oh, they're awful. Now they're awful. After all the years of dominance. Yeah, they're awful. Speedy, are you listening to this?
Yeah.
They're terrible. No one cares. Mac Jones is a disaster. And I'm glad that that's that way. We're going to get off the schneid. We're finally going to break the
A North Carolina quarterback that is going to fail again. Great job.
Who will be terrible because Belichick is terrible at drafting offensive players. So, well, congratulations, Drake May. You just went to the worst place you could possibly go.
So who's your fabulous linebacker coming out of the draft?
I'm trying to get the list. That's why I'm saying just give me a minute and I'll get the list.
Man, I thought he would have the list on him. I mean, he checks it twice.
I have to find the email.
Don't worry, I'll pass the time with reading some of Snug's questions.
Can't wait for this.
Snug's comments. Yes, it's the Zeke prophecy. Yes, the great Ezekiel Elliott that was allegedly better than Barry Sanders. If he goes to the Jets, that'll be the best receiver in the draft. The Jets star will be whoever the Jets draft. Who cares about the Patriots? It's all about the Jets these days. Well, we'll see on that. Who knows? Bill Belichick might not even be there. He'll be a head coach somewhere else next year because Robert Kraft doesn't want him.
All I can find right now is the mock draft that they have out. No. This is from HMI. All I can find right now. I'll have to look later, but I have what HMI thinks would be their mock draft.
Okay. Do you have it up? We're waiting.
Right. Well, I'm trying to find the linebacker.
Okay.
Oh, there's one. Dallas Turner.
All right, Alabama. Yes.
You predict he's going to be one of the better linebackers in the league when he comes here?
I don't make those predictions.
No, well, you do. You do.
I don't.
No,
See,
Jeff likes to hype us up on small school guys like Zayvon Collins and then bring it in.
No, hold on. See, now you guys are twisting.
We're twisting things now. We're twisting.
No. Okay. Let's go back to what the question was when you asked me about Zayvon Collins. You said, who's someone no one's talking about?
No.
That was the question.
You told me Zayvon Collins is going to be one of the best players in that draft class. That's what you told me. Most unknown,
awesome.
Great.
He's awesome.
Really? Awesome?
He is.
What makes him awesome? What makes him awesome?
His speed, his athleticism, the fact that for 3 years now he's been playing out of position, still excelling.
You're out of your crane, man. You really out of your crane.
The Cardinals weren't playing him on a position. You're telling me I'm wrong?
No, I'm telling you he stinks.
Brian Thomas in the draft. Neighbors was projected to go 6th. Brian Thomas is projected to go 14th.
Okay. Zayvon Collins. Let's see where he is here this year. 23 solo, 3.5 sacks, which is ranked 109th in the league. Fantastic. Yeah, he's fantastic. He's one of the best. All-time greatest.
Again.
All-time greatest, ladies and gentlemen. Zayvon Collins.
Numbers, and that's not. Oh, you want to know what? I gotta. Oh, dude, I want to do the player A and player B comparison with you to see if you can tell.
Let's do it.
Hold on, I gotta find. Let me find a thing. Go do your thing, and we'll do the player A versus
You can call
player
back.
B comparison.
All right, you can call back. We gotta go.
All right, I'll call. All right, I'll find it and I'll call you right back. We'll have a fun game.
Okay, let's play the game. This guy's out of his damn mind. I mean, I've lost it.
Player A,
I
B
mean,
comparison.
seriously, him and Snug are just like out of their minds. They've lost it. They call the show. They're trying to. One says he's a Jet fan. The other one thinks that the other one is the best. And I honestly think that they hang out with one another. You know, they don't live in the same time zone. One lives in Tampa. The other one lives in Sacramento.
Somewhere in like
Oklahoma. I don't know. They
halfway.
They do video FaceTime or whatever the hell they do, and they hang out with one another. One smokes a cigar. The other one smokes a cig, and they just chill out and talk and shoot the what.
Whatever day we end up getting Jeff and or Snug,
maybe they eat dog crap together. Who knows?
Will be a miracle in itself.
Both of them.
Even Carroll has come on our video feed.
That's both of them are nuts. Former Steelers and Cardinals running back Rashard Mendenhall tweeted Monday, "I'm sick of average white guys commenting on football. You're not even good at football. Can we please replace pro football of the Pro Bowl with all black versus all white ball? So these cats can stop trying to teach me who's good at football. I'm better than your GOAT." Mendenhall has had recent beef with Steeler fans and attacking Mike Tomlin, and also has hatred for Big Ben. Mendenhall also added that he is tired of being berated by those who aren't experts in the game. J.J. Watt jokes about these comments about all black versus all white matchup, saying they would be cooked at cornerback with nobody that can stop Tyreek Hill. Aaron Rodgers joked about this matchup, saying that the draft needs to be involved with comedian Dave Chappelle. Many NFL fans called out Mendenhall for his fumble in Super Bowl 45 versus the Packers, a fumble that was forced by Clay Matthews. I am not going to get into the politics to this. I'm not going to get into this because of racism, but the NFL for years have been trying to protect this from the league for years. The NFL with the domestic violence situations and all this, the Black Lives Matter situation, the anti-Semitic views that have been thrown out there on social media, a lot of different things. When Rashard Mendenhall, who has a right to feel what he wants to feel or think what he wants to think, comes out and says this, how is this not racist? How is this okay for the NFL to sit here and allow this? Now, he can't be fined because he's not in the league anymore. So they can't fine him. Why did anybody allow this to hit any reports? Okay, because now this is going to stir up more things. And I understand J.J. Watt was joking about it. J.J. Watt's not in the league. What does T.J. Watt think about this? He's not going to say anything. Why would he? If you say something, it's racist. So you cannot do that. And even me, I have my own thoughts to it, but I'm not going to sit here and say, well, this is wrong and this is right. And Mendenhall throwing out the racist junction about white and black. How about we all just get along? How's that? Yeah. What does it matter what color you are? What does it matter what race you are? What does it matter what religion you are? What does it matter if you're a liberal or you're something else? It doesn't matter. Football, sports is played together. We're supposed to not look at your color. Look at how talented and athletic this guy is to that guy. Does it really matter? The best defensive player in the league, people will argue, is T.J. Watt. Some people would say Myles Garrett. Who's right and who's wrong on that? Does it really matter who's white and black? How does this make sense? And why does the NFL allow this to keep going on? This isn't the first time this has happened, by the way. We don't talk about it. Because to the NFL, it has no meaning. They try to push it. They like to push it under the rug. Everything they push on it, CTE, push it under the rug. Who cares? Brain damage, who cares?
Rashard Mendenhall might have CTE at this rate if he's saying crap
I
like
mean,
that.
How about a guy named Brown that was a wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, pulling off his shirt and dancing and prancing in New York in MetLife Stadium, running off the field and then holding people hostage in his house. That's normal? Does the NFL think that these guys don't have CTE or head trauma or head problems right now? How could you come out and take a shot at Mike Tomlin? What did Mike Tomlin do to you? Mike Tomlin is a player's coach. Everybody likes Mike Tomlin. And by the way, he's African American. So why? He's one of the only African American coaches in the NFL. How many African American coaches are in the NFL, Speedy?
That's a good question. It's not many because the whole Brian Flores lawsuit too. He's out of it now. There's not many right now that I can.
Head coaches in the league. He's attacking the one guy that stands out, the one guy that deserves all the respect at what he has done for the NFL and opening up avenues for African American coaches to succeed in the NFL.
Right now, I've just thought of all the NFC teams. There's only one in the NFC. It's Todd Bowles. And now the AFC, I'm trying to think right now. None in the AFC West. AFC South, DeMeco Ryans with the Texans. AFC North, there's none. And Tomlin. And then AFC East, Robert Saleh is a minority, but would you consider
three?
Black? Yeah.
There's three.
Okay, so there's
three African American coaches. And the one guy, I understand he was coached by Mike Tomlin. I understand that Mike Tomlin might have not liked Rashard Mendenhall. Why not? Maybe because he's soft-spoken and likes to throw people under the bus. Mm-hmm. And for the fact that he's saying that I'm sick of average white guys. Who's average? Is TJ Watt average?
Yeah.
He's in a Pro Bowl. He's an average white guy? You're going to tell me he's about to break 100 sacks faster than practically anybody has, okay? There might be two other guys that have broken 100 sacks quicker than he has. Mm-hmm. So he's average for that? Does that make Micah Parsons better than him? Because Micah Parsons had 2 good seasons and hasn't done anything in the playoffs? Come on, guys. This is ridiculous. And this is a story. I'm not going to sit here and say that it isn't. I think it's ridiculous. I think that Mendenhall should just keep his mouth quiet. The league is connected. It doesn't matter what color you are. We've said this over and over and over again. I don't like how everybody has their own thoughts about this guy and that this guy's more talented than that guy because he's faster or he's African American or this guy is white and this guy is there are more successful white quarterbacks. That's not true either. Steve McNair is a successful quarterback. Randall Cunningham was a successful quarterback. Warren Moon was a successful quarterback. Why? Because they're not Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Joe Montana. They're not as talented. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And again, there's so many others at other positions, too, that are going to have their discrepancy, too. Now, J.J. Watt was joking about it with the cornerback because, there's no white cornerbacks that are starters. Understandable. The Giants' Jason Sehorn was the last one that was an outside corner that started. The Broncos drafted one this year in Riley Moss in the 3rd round, but he hasn't started yet this year. But, there's not many of them. And same kind of thing with wide receivers.
Why would J.J. Watt throw himself under the bus if he really wants to say what he feels about what Rashard Mendenhall has said?
Oh, sure.
Okay, nobody's going to say. I'm not going to sit here. The fact is that it doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter who you are, what you believe in when it comes to religion or politics. This is the problem. Sports is sports, okay? Competition is competition. Black, white, Puerto Rican, Haitian, whatever the hell you are, whatever your descent is, it doesn't matter. Why is Mendenhall speaking about that? And you know what it is? People are going to back him up. People are going to stand behind him. For what? What was Rashard Mendenhall? What was his best season?
Probably his 2nd year in the league, 09, I would say, or 2010. It's one of those years. He finally got the full-time job, I think, to his rookie year.
Why is he speaking about race? Why doesn't he just speak about the running back position? Why aren't they respecting the running backs in the league now that he's no longer in the NFL?
Yeah, why are you're not respecting the best running back in the league that is currently white?
it doesn't make sense. It's so stupid. And to sit here, and even Aaron Rodgers, he's making a joke about it. He thinks it's comedy. It's comic, but it's not funny. This isn't funny. I can't laugh at this.
No, and again, you have a pettiness with Big Ben. Understandable. Big Ben wasn't the most likable guy either. With
Big
a lot of his
Ben
other
was an
teammates.
ass.
Fine. You want to take shots at him, but you also had Heath Miller, who was a good tight end on that team.
How many guys have we had on the show that's played with Ben Roethlisberger tell us that they didn't like him?
Sure.
A lot of people have told us they don't like Ben Roethlisberger.
Mm-hmm.
He was who he was. We all know what he did. We all know what type of person he is on and off the field. We all know he had his favorites. Antonio Brown couldn't stand him, even though he was throwing him the ball.
Right.
Okay? We all know what Le'Veon Bell said about him. Okay? We all know a lot of the players didn't like him.
Mm-hmm. But so why are you taking a feud with Big Ben out on Heath Miller, out on Alan Faneca, out on a lot of Brett Keys, a lot of these
What
other
does it
guys?
have anything to do with their color?
I know. So you're going to speak on that just because you have a feud with Big Ben? You're going to throw everyone else under the bus just because of that? All these teammates you played with? You go to Arizona for your Carson Palmer's there? Like, all these guys that you're just going to throw under the bus because you didn't like Big Ben. It just makes no sense. By the way, Jeff is back with our his player comparison.
Let's hear it.
What is your player comparison, Jeff?
Okay, here we go. First of all, what you need to do is give me your top 15 wide receivers in order, rank them currently in the NFL.
All right.
My top 10 wide receivers?
15.
50. I don't know.
All right. Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson.
All right, but right. All right. So here, before we start, here's what you're going to need. You're going to need a pen and paper just to write this down because you're going to want to do it. Right?
Oh God.
Rank them. Top 10 your top 15 wide receivers. Put them in order. Go rank them.
Okay. And what does this have anything to do with what we were speaking about?
Because you'll see how the numbers that you think are numbers are just. Your rankings are going to be so ridiculous based on this. It's going to be fun. Rank your top 15 wide receivers in order, by the way. No hedging, in order. 1 to 15, the best down to 15.
All right. Let's do it now. Okay. Speedy, who do you have for number 1?
All right. I have Tyreek Hill. The way he's played this year has to be number 1.
I'm not going to go because of just here. I'm going to go for the last 3 years.
Okay.
Devontae Adams.
By the way, it's career. It's career.
All right.
So
Devontae. I'm going to go Devontae Adams 1.
Okay. Number 1 for you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'll go with Adams number 2 then.
Okay. No. Who do you have number 1? Tyreek Hill?
I said Hill. Yeah.
All right. So for his career, you're going Tyreek Hill.
And combined with now, yes.
All right. I got Devontae Adams. Number 2, you have Adams?
Yes. Well, we're flip flop. I don't know where you're.
I'm going to go Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I will say, well, I guess Jefferson hasn't played long enough to judge that. I mean, Mike Evans, you could put up there too. He's had a great career.
Go ahead. Who do you have 3?
I guess career-wise, probably Mike Evans.
I'm going to go number 3. I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson, even though he's been in the league for 4 or 5 years. I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson.
All right. I'll go Kupp number 4 and then Jefferson number 5. Okay. I think that's fair.
All right. So hold on 1 second. We're at 3. What are you going 4, 5? What do you have at 3?
He's just putting them.
All right, but we're doing this in order. So who do you have at 3?
Evans.
All right. I have Justin Jefferson. 4. Who do you have?
I'll go Kupp.
I have Deebo Samuel.
Okay. And then 5, I'll go Jefferson.
I'll go Jamar Chase at 5.
And I'll go with him 6.
I will go with CeeDee Lamb 6.
And I'll go Stephon Diggs.
I'll go Stephon Diggs 7.
And I'm going to go Lamb 8.
I will go DK Metcalf.
All right. I'll go with
what are we at?
9. We're at 9 right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say AJ Brown.
AJ Brown. I'll go AJ Brown 9.
All right. I'll go with Metcalf after
that. We're at 10.
Yep.
I'm gonna go Mike Evans.
I'll say St. Brown 11.
I'll go St. Brown 11.
All right. 12. I'll say that's a good one. Oh, I forgot about DeAndre Hopkins. He's probably in there, so I'll say him.
I'll go DeAndre Hopkins at where are you going with
12?
So I'll go with him at 12.
I might have put him up earlier, but yeah.
I'll go DeAndre. No, I wouldn't. DeAndre Hopkins. He's old.
I guess currently now, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to pick him right now.
All right, fine. You guys can stop for the sake of this exercise.
Why would you ask us to do this? What is the point of this?
I wanted to see where people would fall, and you've already covered it, so it's fine. All right. So
what the hell did that? Hold on 1 second. Why do we do this?
You will see. You'll see.
I'm lost here.
Trust me.
I'm kind of too. Like I don't know where he's going with this.
Here's player A. Player A, 147 games played, 853 receptions, 10,605 yards.
Mm-hmm.
12.4 yards per reception. 92 touchdowns. 521 catches for first down. Longest catch, 66 yards. 8 yards per target. 5.8 receptions per game. 72.1 receiving yards per game.
Who is it, Jeff?
It's either Evans or Adams. That's one of those two.
Okay, hold on. Games, player B now. Here's player B. 151 games played. 749 receptions. 11,502 yards. 15.4 yards per reception. Same 92 touchdowns. 577 for a first down. 72 yards for longest catch. 8.8 yards per target. 5 receptions per game. And 76.2 receiving yards per game.
Okay,
Who's
so
better?
one of them is Mike Evans. The other one is Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams is
who's better?
Probably the more catches, but again,
They're going to give it to Mike Evans, obviously.
No, well, all I did was player A and player B. It's up to you to decide who's better.
I think you're going to say Mike Evans. Am I right?
Who's player A and who's player B, and who do you think is better?
Okay, Evans probably has more catches than
What
Adams,
does this
so I'll
have
say
anything to do with Zayvon Collins?
Because I think A is
No,
player A.
no,
is
it's just really an exercise to show that your player rankings and who you think is better, it's so skewed towards popularity contest and not actually who's better. Who's better, player A or player B?
I don't care. I don't care. They're both good. That's all that matters to me.
Who's player A? Who's player B?
Jeff, I don't care. That doesn't mean anything.
Right,
Zayvon Collins has
Player A
nothing
is
to
Mike
do with
Evans,
Devontae
player
Adams and Mike
B
Evans.
is Devontae Adams,
Where does this
or
come into
other way
the
around.
conversation we just had?
Right,
You
it
went
just-
from
right,
looking
it-
at linebackers
no,
and
no,
coming
no, it
back
just shows-
to quarterback. I mean, wide receivers. I don't want
it
anything
just
to do
shows-
with.
No. It just shows because you're like, look at the numbers. It just shows you who you rank best. And when you look at the numbers, you can't tell. You can't tell who's better, right? Player A is Devontae Adams, who you ranked as the #1 best wide receiver in football. Player B is Mike Evans, who you ranked 10th. You don't know shit even when you hear the numbers.
Thank you, Jeff, for calling the show. We really appreciate you.
know
We love you.
shit.
Goodbye.
You
Goodbye. Yeah, hang up the phone with him. What does that have anything to do with Zayvon Collins?
They both had great careers. So like you're nitpicking on two guys.
You
that have had
asked
great-
me where I would rank them.
Adams is currently better, yes, but that doesn't mean Evans didn't have a great career. That doesn't mean he's having a great
Because
season.
I put Mike Evans at 10. I'm wrong.
Okay, the best wide receiver currently, based on like overall production this year, is Hill, and then skill wise is probably Jefferson. Like you could judge it on many different things. So like it's such a weird analogy. Most productive doesn't mean you're the most talented. I think St. Brown.
What does that have anything to do with what we were speaking about?
Yeah, I don't
really. I mean, seriously, Jeff. I don't know where you're coming from or where you're getting at. It doesn't make any sense from Zayvon Collins. Let's just look at Zayvon Collins and for what he is. He stinks. That's what he is.
And
He
again,
stinks.
linebackers are deceiving too. Like
let's go look at the top linebackers in the league.
best linebacker
let's
right
rate
now
that.
in the NFL is Fred Warner.
Let's go to top 15 linebacker. Do not bring him on.
Sorry, Jeff.
Do not.
Not this
Do
time.
not. He could call back later. He's not going to hog up the show right now because, hey, you know what? He has his own thoughts to what they are and where they rate.
I also think linebackers are one of the most deceiving things to look at too, because just because you have the most tackles, that also could mean you're on the field a lot. Unless you're Patrick Willis or Luke Kuechly.
Let's see. Let's see right now. This was posted June 1st, 2023. Okay, this is June 1st. This is before the season started. Okay, Trevor Sikkema from PFF
Network, I think.
Yeah,
now PFF.
Yeah, PFF wrote this. Okay, we're going to go to linebackers. Tier 1, Fred Warner, Levante David, Demario Davis. Okay. Tier 2, Matt Milano, Roquan Smith, Shaq Leonard, Bobby Wagner, Dre Greenlaw, and Tremaine Edmonds. Okay. Tier 3, TJ Edwards, Nick Bolton, Eric Kendricks, Frankie Lavu, and David Long Jr. Okay. Now let's go to tier 4. Campbell, Bentley. You get what I'm going? You have all the way CJ Mosley.
Disagreements.
CJ Mosley at tier 4. Okay. And this guy was a second team all pro player last year. Let me I'm looking through all
And I
these
would put
rankings.
Bolton a little
Hold
higher,
on.
too, yeah.
I'm looking for Zaven Collins, where he is ranked. Okay. He's not in tier 5. He's not in tier 6. He's not in tier 7. He's not in any tier. From the top, from 1 to 7 tier, he's not even in any of those tiers. This is the great Zaven Collins, who was drafted where including Jeff, said, this guy's going to be one of the best in the next 2 or 3 years. You'll see. How long has he been in the league?
This is year 3 for him.
Year 3. Failure. He will probably be traded like, I don't know, somebody who's now
everyone else on the Cardinals
playing right now for the Giants,
hopefully
who's
they bring him
actually
back.
succeeding,
Yeah.
by the way, Simmons.
Yeah, he's been good.
Okay, so I mean, come on, Jeff. What are you trying to sell here? You're going after us because we have our own thoughts of where we rate the wide receivers right now in the league?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Plus, you're describing it wrong. You're trying to make me think, all right,
Dude,
who had the best career versus who's the best right
if
now
you
is completely
ask
different, too.
anybody, the top 15 linebackers in the league, nobody would put Zaven Collins. Nobody would even come close to putting Zaven Collins in the top 15. But you're going to say he's been good? How? He's been horrible, okay? He's ranked 108th in sacks for linebackers. Sacks. He has 29 solo tackles, okay? Mosley has over 100, okay? This is a guy that's how old? I don't know. Like 31, 30 years old. You have a 23, 24-year-old linebacker against a little bit over 30-year-old linebacker, all second team all pro player, who, by the way, people try to compare Zaven Collins to. He's not even anywhere close to CJ Mosley. That is your guy. That is your guy.
Let's also forget that linebacker numbers are
That's your
deceiving,
guy.
too. Blake Martinez led the league in tackles and couldn't cover to save his life. So judge that accordingly. Is Blake Martinez ever the best middle linebacker in football? No.
I don't understand where he was coming and where he was getting at with that.
Just a weird comparison.
It just makes no sense.
Pick who's your best one right now.
Listen, he's trying to pick on us or try to find a reason why that we don't, reasons why that he doesn't want to listen to us, or make reasons why people shouldn't listen to us when they should, because we're right. And we're not stupid. And it doesn't mean because we're not a PFF experts why we would pick this guy over that guy, because of statistics. And you're going to say, well, I think statistics are everything. I think statistics are about, I would say 85% of the answers when you look at it. And then you have the Beeves 15% eye test, okay? His eye test that's almost always wrong, okay? Because we all know what he said about Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh, yeah.
To, the great Barry Sanders, which is absolutely ridiculous, but that's just me. Sports Illustrated Albert Breer says that Pete Carroll could retire after the season, and Seahawks could pursue Dan Quinn as their next head coach. Quinn rejected several head coaching jobs in the last 2 years, including the Cardinals, Colts, and Broncos, to stay with the Cowboys as the defensive coordinator. CBS Sports' Josina Anderson says that there is a dismay centered around the Falcons and head coach Arthur Smith following their loss to the Panthers. The Falcons have benched Desmond Ridder for the third time this season. Taylor Heineke will start in it for Atlanta in Week 16. The Athletic reports that Ron Rivera and several Commanders front office members are expected to be fired at the end of the season. Other reports mention that there are unsure about Sam Howell as the future quarterback of this organization. Washington is one of the lead teams, along with the Chargers, expected to pursue Bill Belichick in the offseason. The Chargers are going to get Bill Belichick if they're interested in him. I'm throwing it out there. I don't care. Harris runs the team. Why would Bill Belichick want to go to an organization that, by the way, their stadium is falling apart? Okay, it is falling apart. And nobody has succeeded over there. When was the last time that you can sit here and say that the Washington Commanders were a playoff contending team to win a Super Bowl? The answer, I don't remember. Okay, they're not. Even with Kirk Cousins when they made the playoffs, and what was that? What did he used to say?
You like that?
You like that? Or the you like that time? it didn't work.
No, they were 9-7 that year.
RG3 was the last time everybody thought that they were a contender. And RG3 was good for 2-3 years before he tore his ACL again.
Yeah, that gruesome injury in the playoff game too.
Yep. And he was rookie of the year that year over Andrew Luck, if you remember.
Yep.
And Andrew Luck went on to be, to me, at that for like a 7-year span, probably one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. And RG3 just fell off. Honestly, you sit here and you if you were Bill Belichick, if you had a choice between the Chargers and Washington, and I'm not saying the Chargers are a winning organization because they're not.
At least clutch team in football.
But they usually are a playoff contender every year. Every year. With Phillip Rivers, they were a playoff contender. Every year. At least they get there. And now with Justin Herbert, Sam Howell, they're just saying Sam Howell might not be the future quarterback of this organization. You have Justin Herbert as your quarterback. Some people say a top 5, top 6 quarterback in the NFL, one of the top 3 youngsters in the NFL. And you're going to say, hey, you know what? I'd rather coach in Washington. What are you, nuts? He's not going to do that. He's trying to break Don Schuler's record in wins. He's not going there. I don't know why anybody thinks. And by the way, the Chargers have a very rich owner too. One of the richest. The guy loves to spend money. I think he owns Walmart. He's the CEO or CFO of Walmart.
No, that's the Broncos owner.
No, I think that's
no, that's the Broncos.
Well, who owns
the Spanos family owns the Chargers.
The Chargers, and what do they own? They own somebody.
Sure.
They own something too, like that. Home Depot. Maybe it's Home Depot. They own something too. They own an organization too. Who do the Spanos own? I'm pretty sure they own something. You don't know? Well, you look that up. Anyways, he's a very rich owner. That family's very rich, just like the Washington Commanders. I almost said football team, and I wanted to say the other name. I mean, how many names do they have? They went from 1 to 2 to 3. They've had 3 names in the amount of 5 years. I honestly, you look at Atlanta right now. Atlanta with Arthur Smith, why would you want to go and coach in Atlanta? Atlanta has no quarterback. Where is Atlanta drafting right now?
9th, I believe.
9th. So you're not going to get one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in this class. Maybe if you want, you want to reach and get McCarthy. What is it, McCarthy?
JJ McCarthy or Jaden Daniels, possibly. Yeah.
I think Jaden Daniels going in the top 7, top 8.
I could see that. Yeah.
I mean, he won a Heisman. Yeah. Everybody thinks that he could be a steal.
He
might, if he has a good combine, he's probably going to jump.
He would be perfect for that scheme, but if Arthur Smith's not there, like which scheme is it going to be?
But you're getting another running quarterback and throwing quarterback. Is it going to work over there? And Arthur Smith is not keeping his job.
Doesn't seem like it.
He's not. So to me, if I was looking at a team, and I like Bijan Robinson, I think he's fantastic. I don't know what they're doing with Kyle Pitts for the last 2 years. He's completely lost. Honestly, I think they should have traded him to the Cowboys when they had a chance to, because now he's not worth anything. Mm-hmm. They have weapons there. Their defense played very well early in the season. They spent a lot of money on a couple of pieces in the offseason. They bring in the star safety from the Bengals, the Bates, who's played very well for them in the secondary. I mean, right now, the best option for Bill Belichick, if he leaves the Patriots, if they decide to part ways with him, is to go to the Chargers. So listen, we all know that Pete Carroll has sat back over the last couple of years and has thought about retirement. The guy's 72, 73 years old. He's the oldest coach in the NFL. Dan Quinn would be so perfect. I almost said Pat Quinn, by the way. He was the GM for Vancouver for over, in the 90s and stuff like that, but I'm not talking about him. But Dan Quinn has been a successful defensive corner. He was successful as the Atlanta head coach for the couple of years that he was there. He failed in the Super Bowl. I blame Kyle Shanahan. I don't blame him, but he's the head coach. He's going to take the responsibility. Matt Ryan didn't look good in the second half of that game. That had a lot to do with the Patriots defense too. Mm-hmm. That had a lot to do with Bill Belichick. I just think when you look at, and every year there's coaching positions opening up. Every year. I mean, we've heard about Wink Martindale. He might not want to be there. He might not want to work with Daboll anymore. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I really don't. And And if it happens, the only reason why Martindale would leave is if he gets a head coaching job somewhere in the NFL. I don't think he's going to leave the Giants. I really don't. I think he has a successful defense. If he stays there another year and shows that this defense could really develop into one of the best defenses in the league, which I think they're capable of being, he's going to get a coaching job. Look what Ulbrich is doing for the Jets. He is going to interview for at least every single one of those jobs. He might not get one because there has to be a significant amount of positions opening up. And now that it's become a defensive league this year, a lot of these defensive coordinators are going to get head coaching jobs, Speedy.
Yeah, you wonder, too, if that's going to be a ripple effect that could change, not even to become the majority, but at least to become more of a, constant in terms of, all right, we're just going to have a guy that could get good team culture going. Because Houston with DeMeco Ryan's definitely gotten that going, too. And
fantastic season.
8-6 this year.
To me, coach of the year.
He definitely is going to be up in that running, too, if the Texans make the playoffs.
Him or McDaniels?
Yeah, I think McDaniel is probably leading right now just because of the way the Dolphins have to manage the injuries. But you look at the Texans, that with all the talent that they had to accumulate mainly the last 2 years, it's an all young team all at once.
Well, the Texans also have a rookie quarterback that everybody was taking shots at before he was drafted. And now look what he's turned out to be. He was up for MVP before he got hurt.
Yeah. And you wonder if that kind of thing could happen with a lot of these other defensive coaches too. Now, the thing that goes against Wake Martindale is just that he's older. I think, like you said, Jeff Ulbrich or another one of these other play callers from these other teams, maybe from the Ravens or the Browns, somebody like that. If it comes from a defensive guy, the 49ers, because they love to cycle him out at this point, I just think that could go against him. Because you're going to hire an older coach, you'll either be Bill Belichick, wherever he ends up going, whether it's the Chargers, whether it's Washington, somewhere else. And
maybe he stays with the Patriots.
Maybe he does. Maybe Robert Kraft has a smoke screen. Who knows? But still, I think just because
the only smoke screen he has is the one in that parlor.
Yeah. But even so, you look at just
I wonder how many girls were grabbing him before he decided to,
maybe
splurge.
I don't know.
Splurge.
Maybe Robert Kraft will write
I don't want to say what I really think.
Maybe Robert Kraft will add that in his book of why he's doing that, and then he'll end up being petty with Bill Belichick and everything else. But
one hand scratches the other.
But even so, I think the other trend that is not going against these other coaches, these older coaches' favor, has been the retread coaches. Now, I agree with you about Dan Quinn. Now, Dan Quinn, I think, definitely deserves another head coaching job because I think with Atlanta, the main thing that would happen with him is just the contracts got too big, and Thomas Dimitroff and a lot of these other guys that got hurt, they give up big contracts and they just couldn't pay anybody. Julio Jones had to get traded. Matt Ryan obviously was had to let go of too. They lost a lot of their offensive line, but he's still a good coach. And that's why I think he'll get another job. But these other retread coaches and these other coaches have already failed. Good luck.
I just think when you look at some of these teams, you got to pick the right guy. And ask the Jets, they've always picked the wrong guys. I mean, Rex Ryan was, for 2-3 years, he was the right guy. And then as everything started to fall apart, the clown show became even more of a circus. It doesn't work. And Robert Saleh, going back to Robert Saleh, unfortunately, I like Robert. I think he's a good defensive coordinator, but some guys just are not fit to be coaches in the league. Todd Bowles, it's working right now with Tampa. I mean, they might squeak into the playoffs. They might have a under 500 record if they get into the playoffs. That doesn't sell to me. Maybe he figured out something with Baker Mayfield. Is it really him? I mean, he's a defensive-minded coach. He couldn't coach the Jets offense if he asked him to. I mean, the guy, honestly, offensively, I don't think Todd Bowles called or actually was a part of any of the offense for the New York Jets when he was there. Okay, not one play. And he was terrible at calling timeouts.
He's still bad. It's still bad at that with the Bucs.
So I understand that Baker Mayfield's having a sensational year, and if he doesn't get a contract from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he's going to get a contract somewhere else. He's become a successful. This has been a successful year. This might be one of his most successful years, Baker, when he thought, and a lot of people thought his career was over in the NFL. He is. If you look at the quarterbacks now, Sam Darnold's disappeared. Rosen has disappeared. All these other guys, but you look at Josh Allen, you look at Lamar Jackson, and how you look at Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield maybe wasn't a bad draft pick at number one. Now, it didn't work out with the Browns, maybe because the Browns organization is a bunch of idiots. Yeah. But you also understand that Deshaun Watson, at one point, besides his hand jobs and whatever jobs that he had, he was one of the elite quarterbacks in the league before he did some stupid things. So I just think that when you look at, if you're a head coach or you're a guy looking for a job, you're looking at who's your quarterback. Okay. Washington, Sam Howell. Washington doesn't know if Sam Howell is the future. If you were Bill Belichick, would you take that job? I mean, and by the way, Washington would be drafting at 4.
4, yeah.
Okay. If Drake May goes, and maybe Bill Belichick likes Drake May, or or somebody else.
I could definitely see if Bill Belichick somehow takes the Commanders job. I could definitely see him trade up just to screw the Patriots.
I don't see it. I don't think Washington. First of all, Washington already has a GM. They would have to fire him.
Which it seems like they want to do, apparently.
No, he just got the job.
With this, yeah, but it wasn't this owner, so it might see this owner, Josh Harris.
I'm interested to see what he does. Is he going to give him the whole reins of the Washington command? I know the Chargers will.
I know, I can see it too, because they're very extreme. They're very stubborn with his other teams. Look at the way Harris with the Sixers too. Like they'll fire everybody and do it, just clean house and start everything.
The Chargers don't have a GM, and they don't have a coach now. They don't have anything. But they do have a team that is ready to win. I honestly, besides their secondary, you had secondary options in the offseason at that position. I think they're a Super Bowl contender. I really do. Justin Herbert just needs a coach that's going to give him a little nudge. That's all he needs is a little nudge. Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round. And everybody says, well, Tom Brady is the reason why the Patriots. Who drafted Tom Brady? Who trusted in Tom Brady when he had to part ways with Drew Bledsoe? Okay? Drew Bledsoe was a god by the Patriot fans and a top draft pick. So you have to look at what Bill Belichick had to do to build a successful organization like the Patriots. So I also go back. You look at everything's set up to win over there with the Chargers. Everything is set up. The offensive line's pretty damn good too. Rashad Slater is one of the best left tackles in the league when healthy. I mean, they've built that offensive line. You had another tackle or a guard there, you're a contender right there. I mean, it just makes a lot of sense. Pete Carroll, Dan Quinn, makes a lot of sense. I mean, their defense, Dan Quinn is a defensive-minded coach. He's part of that Pete Carroll regime. I could see why Dan Quinn would take that job. Mike McCarthy might be on a hot seat.
Yeah.
If they don't win in the playoffs, or they fail to get out of the 1st round, or maybe even the 2nd round, we all know Jerry Jones has his own plans.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he's the next head coach. I mean, seriously, could you imagine Jerry Jones on the sidelines coaching the old man, him, 89 years old? Prevent defense. You know what? I'm going to hire the Beef. He'll be my defensive coordinator. I mean, come on. The Cowboys have been an organization, too, that has failed to pick the right coach. Why do you think they have not succeeded since the 90s? It's because a guy like Jerry Jones has brought in coach after coach after coach after coach, and it just hasn't worked. It's not Dak Prescott's fault. Why does everybody want to blame Dak? Dak has been an MVP candidate this year. He deserves a lot of credit. Did he look good last week? No, but either did the Cowboys.
Neither did everyone else, probably besides CeeDee Lamb and Stephon Gilmore.
And the great Cowboys defense that the Beav was bragging about all season long. Well, where did that happen? What happened
Carved up by James Cook.
Micah Parsons has been a shell of himself the last 3 weeks. I mean, he was telling me that Micah Parsons is second best defensive lineman in the league. What are you, nuts?
Oh, yeah. When we had Sean Smith on last week, Sean Smith said about Parsons, for one thing, he's cocky, obviously. The other thing, too, is good offenses have figured out how to decoy away from him, too. And Buffalo was another example of that with Joe Brady. Did that
Everybody knows what to do. You clog up every single area he is at. So but the only thing with what the Cowboys like to do is they like to shift them during the play. So they move him so teams can't really set for him. But it hasn't helped the last couple of weeks.
Nope. Teams with heavy motion is going to go against that too, or they will even overload, call an audible back the other way, and before he can get back into position too. And that was the big problem with the Bills' offense with their previous coordinator. They had barely any motion.
And the Cowboys' problem is their secondary right now. Mm-hmm. They can't stop the throw.
Stephon Gilmore can only save him so much.
There's nothing out there that can help. And it's not because of Diggs being injured. Yes, Diggs would help out, but they've had this problem for the last couple of years. Hey, Kay, that's why they brought in Stephon Gilmore. Right. They should have brought more. They should have brought more help in the offseason. They should have given CeeDee Lamb more help. Cooks is not the guy that you're going to trust. And by the way, Gallup isn't the guy either. So he's been a failure since he came back from his torn ACL, and giving him an extension the way they did, it didn't make sense. Coaching has to do with understanding your roster. I'm not a coach. I don't want to pretend that I am. Okay. And if I coached and by the way, we had somebody on last week that asked me to be the GM for the New York Jets.
Safer.
That's right. He asked me, what would you do if the offseason came and gone? What would you have done, or what would you do when the season is over? And I told him, and he says he's going to critique it. He didn't critique one thing I said to him.
The one thing you will know if you're the DM of the Jets is you're not getting Bill Belichick.
And for a guy, and I love Schaefer, for a guy that was sticking up for Zach Wilson, as soon as I started to attack Zach Wilson, it came back. He was trying to hide it. He knew what to say. He was trying to listen. He's a part of the Jets organization. Right. He respects the Jets organization. He's not going to throw the Jets under the bus, but he smiled and he yabbed me because he knows the truth. That guy isn't the future. The Jets don't have a future at the quarterback position. They have never had a future at that quarterback position in 54 years. I don't even think they had a future when that was going on. Okay? It's just, and I don't want to hear that they're jinxed and the devil is, whatever they say. He made a deal with the devil. I don't believe in it.
Is that what you claimed when you interviewed Joe Namath?
That's what Namath, supposedly every Jet fan believes. He made a deal with the devil, and the deal was if he won Super Bowl III, that the Jets would never win a Super Bowl again until he dies. And they haven't won since then. So they believe in these crazy stories with Joe Namath. I should have asked Joe when I saw him at the event that I saw him, hey, you know what? I believe in the devil too, maybe I should ask the devil, hey, you want to help me out here?
Yep. There's a lot of fans
help me out
that
here?
believe in that.
I want to be I want to be Shohei Ohtani for the next 20 years. I want all that money, and I want to be the richest athlete to ever play in professional sports. Could you do that for me? Okay, I'm going to sell my soul to you. Here you go. Let's do it. I might as well do it. With the snap of the finger, the devil will make me the greatest baseball player ever to live.
Don't let that easy.
I'm not saying Shohei Ohtani is the greatest baseball player ever to live, by the way, for all the fans out there. I never said that. So I'm just saying that when you go back and you understand the way sports work, there are organizations that are just failures when it comes to finding a guy that's going to take you to that next level. The Giants, if you look at the Giants, and this has happened to the Giants for every, and I'm going to say this, and remember I said this, when Phil Simms retired, and he retired, I think it was in the early 90s. I think it was like 92, I think it was, when he was done. Speedy, I mean, you're a Phil.
Yeah, 93.
93, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that was, then it took them how long to find a quarterback? 2004, right? Mm-hmm. Peyton Manning. So that was 11 years. Okay, so Eli Manning. I said Peyton. So Eli Manning played till when? When did he retire?
2019.
2019. And it is 2000. We're going into 2024. Mm-hmm. I'm going to predict this. You ready to hear this? The Giants aren't going to find a franchise quarterback for at least another 5 more years. 5 more years. And then they'll win again. Because if you look at numbers and calculate the way football and sports work, that's the way it happens. This is the longest drought the New York Yankees have ever had. They haven't won a World Series going on their 14th season. 14th season. Last time they won was 2009. We're going into 2024. They haven't won in almost 14 years. This is the longest drought. This is unheard of. How long is this going to last? Not very long. I'm going to predict that the Yankees will win in the next 2 to 3 years. Why? Because that's just the way you calculate numbers. Numbers and statistics would tell you that's what's going to happen. There's no rhyme or reason for it. It happens. I'm not a mathematician. I'm not a calculus or algebra guy. As a matter of fact, I wasn't very good at it. Too good at it. I was about to say too good, but I was good at social studies. I mean, it doesn't really help me here, but nevertheless, I was good at it. I do know a little bit about the way things work. And in sports, things happen. The Rangers never won a World Series. They've been around for how many years?
Since the 70s.
Yeah, it's been like 50 years, 40 years they've been around. They've never won a World Series. Look, the Jets haven't won a championship in 54 years. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just the way it is. Look at the Rangers. The Rangers won in 94. How long did it take them to win another Stanley Cup?
Still haven't.
I mean, I'm just saying, before 94, when was the last time they won?
1940. Thank you for noting all the Islander fans. I love
1940. All right. Now, a lot of people would think that because they haven't won since 94, it's going to take them another probably 15 more years to win another championship, somewhere between 20 and 30 years. You know, it was 50 some odd years before they won in 94. But sports is different now. The speed of the game, athletes are much better than they were or talented than they were in the time that the 90s were going on, in the 80s, in the 70s, and the sports rules and the rules cater to the offensive side in every single sport than the defensive side. But why is it in professional sports, it went from, and I'll say this again, look at all the sports. I'm going to go into it again, and I'm going to go right into it, and you will agree with me on this, Speedy. Not this past year. I mean, this past year, the year before, in all the sports, it was an offensive game, right? The NHL was high in goals, right?
Still is this year, too.
I'm just saying, it was high in goals, right? All right. Basketball was high in points and everything like that, right? It was a lot.
Yeah.
And the same thing with football and baseball, right? It was all high.
Baseball was kind of even, but yeah.
No, it was high. It was high. It was a lot of home runs. Everybody was saying, "Oh, and now they were gonna help it. They were gonna help the game, and they were gonna change the rules." Right? That's what they were doing, because that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to make it more of an offensive game, just to splurge and make it even better. What happened this year? Less home runs, less offense in baseball. Football, from one of the biggest offensive years in professional football history. What are they doing this year? It's become a defensive sport.
Oh yeah.
Hockey this year, it's been a lot of goal scoring this year. I think it'll transition one way or another with the rules. And then you look at other sports. I'm just mentioning, why is it transitioning from what the league wants it to be to change it into what they didn't expect it to be? Because teams and coaches are figuring out how to beat that. So what are they going to do next year? They're going to try to change it around. They're going to try to change it. That's sports. It's not calculating anything. You're trying to figure out ways to beat those teams, beat those star players, no matter how good they are, no matter how talented they are. That's sports. That's what when you get away, and Jeff could say whatever he wants. He can say I'm out of my mind and everything like that. Why do you watch sports? Now, Jeff watches sports to bet, right? That's what he does. He wants to bet on sports, make money. That's what everybody does. Why is it Vegas always wins? Why is it? Why is that? Does Vegas know something that we don't? Are they magical? They're magicians. They could just read the future. Back to the Future. There's a book that they have. No. They're calculating numbers, statistics. They're looking at different things every time they play those teams, everywhere they play those teams. It's statistics. Statistics tell them that this is a better bet than that. That doesn't mean that they're always right. And that's why not many people are winners. Now, Jeff would say he's a winner all the time, or most people. That's betting. That's what makes sports so fun to watch, because there are no rhyme or reason why somebody would know more than that person or know more than the book. That's what makes it interesting. That's why sports is so, you get away with it. You get away from life from it. I'd say get away from it, but I don't want to get away from it. But it takes you away from your life. It takes you away from some of the stuff that's going on, of the stress that you're dealing with. Why? I mean, Speedy, why do you watch sports?
I enjoy the competition. I enjoy the strategy.
You never played sports, right?
Not very well.
You weren't a good athlete, but you're a big sports fan. You know a lot about statistics. You've watched sports your whole life, and you know your teams. You love your teams, right? Okay. So is there a rhyme or reason why sports transitions every single year?
Yeah, there's adjustments. It's an adjustments league for everything, especially football.
And statistics.
Yep.
Why do you
New
think
data, too.
baseball data? Why did baseball changing the data with WAR and all these different statistics that bring in? How many statisticians we brought in on our show telling us, well, this is a new statistic, and that's a new statistic, and you have to look at this. This makes more sense than looking at the ERA or WAR or whatever the hell it is. They're bringing up new stats. Everything's changing. The game is changing. Sports is changing.
It's not called back. We have a guest coming up in a
All right, so why don't we go to let's go to a quick break. When we come back for the first time on our show, we will be talking to Texas Rangers play-by-play broadcaster and studio analyst Jared Sandler, and he's not related to Adam. When we come back here on the Sports Loudmouth.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouth.
We will rock you. That's not the beat, by the way. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. 631-672-3108 is the number to call. Remember, you can listen to us and follow all our shows throughout our network by going to www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all the shows throughout the week, the local listings. They're on the website, ladies and gentlemen. If you miss or you don't understand how to read, Speedy can help you. You could reach out to him. He's got an email. Yeah, he can help you out. Anything that you guys need. I mean, seriously. And Rashard Mendenhall, if you have a problems reading, he can help you too. All you have to do, ladies and gentlemen, is go to www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Speedy, do you know Rashard? No, I think you need to reach out to him. I think
I've tried. I'm pretty sure I've reached out to a lot of
what do you think he'd tell us if we actually had him on a show? Do you think he knows how to read?
Probably.
Do you know how to read? Yes. I think you do. I'm learning, by the way. Anyways, for the first time on our show, ladies and gentlemen, he is the play-by-play guy for the World Series champions. Yes, you heard it from me. After many, many years of failing, Juan Gonzalez, Pudge Rodriguez, they finally pull off a win, and it wasn't Max Scherzer that did it for him. We are now talking to Texas Rangers play-by-play broadcaster and studio analyst, Jared Sandler. Jared, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely, man. And congratulations. You're going to get a ring. Our friend Charlie Slow's got a ring when the Nationals won. So you're going to get to see that beautiful shine on your hands. So whenever you get that shining ring, you have to come back on the show and show it.
That works. I probably won't ever wear it. I might wear it on opening day, but I'm not a big ring person, but I'm going to definitely cherish the heck out of it and probably put it someplace safe. I'm really excited. We had the ring fitting earlier this week or maybe last week, and I'm pretty excited. This should be a really cool memento to capture this year.
I'm sure you've been attacked by or reached out by many people on social media that you were related to Adam Sandler. Are you related to Adam Sandler?
So I actually have a funny story with that. I'm like Adam, or I was at one point a young Jewish boy who loved the Hanukkah song. I still am Jewish.
I'm Jewish too.
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
And so when I was in Hebrew school or Sunday school when I was 6 or 7, the Hanukkah song was really big. And I just learned cursive. And I used to tell people that Adam Sandler was my uncle because anyone can be your uncle, right? I can't say he's my dad. That's easy to, well, anyone, oh, no, he's your dad doesn't have a brother. Well, no, he's kind of like my uncle, whatever. And so I would charge $2 an autograph.
Oh,
and I would go home and, if you want an autograph, 2, whatever. And in cursive, I'd write Adam Sandler, and I made $14. And then my dad found out when I showed him. I thought it was the right time to let him know I was a little entrepreneur. I later learned that my dad thought it was really funny, but he felt like in that moment he had to make sure not to encourage the stealing of money in a fraudulent way. I had to return the money. Now, years later, not only did I find out along the way that Adam had an actual nephew named Jared Sandler, we ended up going to the same college and being in the same fraternity together. So Adam does have a nephew named Jared, who's a comedian and an actor and is carving out his own career, spelled the exact same. He's 4.5 years younger than I am. So he is the real nephew of Adam Sandler. I just faked it and made $14 that I ultimately had to return.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know who Jared Sandler is, he's a thief. He was stealing money, and that's why he probably has money now, because
that's
he was stealing $14 from petty kids from his school. So
It's funny, Jared. My mom, her maiden name was Marino, so she made the lie up to her friends as a kid that Dan Marino was her uncle. So
that's awesome. Hey, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. You can only work with what you have.
Well, I'll just let you know something. My last name is Marks, and everybody used to say, "What are you related to the Marx brothers?" I never knew that. I said, I don't even know who the Marx brothers are. And I find out years ago, before my father passed away, that the Marx brothers were fourth cousins of mine. They were actually related to me, my family. Yes. And I was like, get the hell out of here. He said, I'm telling you, we are related to the Marx brothers. So
that's awesome.
I never knew that. Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
My wife, the only real, I mean, my family's from South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And so my dad played soccer professionally there, but that means nothing here in America. My wife's third cousin was the original, the guy who came up with the phrase Elvis has left the building.
Really?
Oh. Yeah. We've profited zero off of it. But whenever Elvis's name is mentioned, that's like she'll bring that up. To me, it's like, it would have been cool if we're driving a Rolls Royce because of this guy. That's not really the case, but yeah, that's like the coolest random thing is my wife's third, seventh cousin removed, 12, whatever, came up with Elvis has left the building.
As everyone knows, we are talking to Texas Rangers play-by-play broadcaster and studio analyst Jared Sandler. And like he said, he's not related to Adam Sandler, or is he? Anyways. So let's get into it. The Texas Rangers had a sensational year. And by the way, I was one of very few people that had the Texas Rangers this year winning the World Series. Nobody in the right mind had the Texas Rangers winning, but yours truly did. So what were your thoughts going into the playoffs? They were not playing very well the last month of the season. They snuck into the playoffs. They really crawled into the playoffs and then made an unbelievable run. Did you think they really had that kind of chance making it and making it to the playoffs at the end of the season the way they were playing and then doing what they did?
Yeah, beyond the anything can happen and you get in, then whatever, you go to the dance and maybe you steal the hottest girl type of deal. No, I mean, it was tough to envision it because they couldn't win close games. And how are you going to get through the postseason without having to play close game after close game after close game? I mean, runs are, typically at a premium in the postseason, and they just had such a tough time really all year, even when they were winning. They were winning games by 5, 6, 7, 8 runs. I mean, they had more wins of 10 or more runs, I think, in the last 50 years in Major League Baseball. So they remarkably got through the regular season, and they, lost the division the last day, but made a playoff spot despite a real struggle to win consecutive close games. And the reason I put the emphasis on that is if they had played, 3 straight days with either losing or winning by a margin, then they'd have a fresh bullpen and they'd be all right. They had 2-3 good relievers at a given time who could get you through the 7th, 8th, or 9th. But what if one of those guys wasn't available the next day, or 2 of those guys weren't available? They had no chance. And if their starter wasn't going deep, they really struggled. They struggled in the 5th, 6th, 7th innings when they were, not getting that from their starting pitchers. So How are they going to do that in the playoffs? Well, they did it, and they shrunk the bullpen. Bruce Bochy did a tremendous job, but somehow in the playoffs, they won a lot of games by margin. They won one of the games in Tampa by, I think, 5 or 6 runs. The second game and third game in the 3-game series against Baltimore, they won by, considerable amount. Game 6 in Houston ended up being a sizable win, and game 7 was a blowout. One of the other Houston games, they ended up winning somewhat comfortably. And then in the World Series, kind of more of the same after game 1, once they started winning. So, they didn't have to win a lot of close games relative to what you typically experience during a postseason run. But when they did have close games, Josh Sborz was outstanding. Jose Leclerc was outstanding. They got what they needed out of Aroldis Chapman. And then they had a few guys step up like Cody Bradford and John Gray at times throughout the postseason. So they got just enough to do it. But, they're the first team to ever make the playoffs despite having a save percentage below 50%. And I don't think we're going to, sometimes a team wins a championship, a World Series, Stanley Cup, Super Bowl, and you look at the model and you're like, okay, this is how you do it. This is what we're going to try and do. I don't think anyone's going to try and replicate the Rangers bullpen model as a way to win a World Series. They got hot at the right time and it worked out for them.
Yeah, one of the models they've been trying to do for years, too, is trying to bring all these veteran pitchers, too. They've had so many bad contracts with veteran pitchers over the years, too, and finally they hit it right. Not even just DeGrom and Scherzer, the big flashy ones. It was, like you're saying, John Gray, it was Evaldi, all those guys. What do you think changed with this current team, this regime, and maybe it is Bochy?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think Bruce Bochy has something to do with it, especially when you consider the roller coaster of the last 2 months from – being at one point the best team in the American League record-wise to having a pretty sizable lead in the division to now all of a sudden, holy smokes, now it's like a division race, and it's not just with one other team, it's with 2 other teams, the Mariners and the Astros. And then, just having – and the way they were losing games too. I mean, they weren't losing games because they were down 5 in the first. They were losing games because they were, up 5 and the bullpen blew it, or maybe it was a back and forth game and they blew yet another save. And that's demoralizing, right? Sometimes it's better to just get your ass kicked in the first few innings and you just chalk it up to, hey, it's one of those nights. But when you're in games and you're giving games away late, that's tough. And I think Bruce Bochy, I don't want to take away from the X's and O's and the strategic side of it. We don't always know what decisions are being considered. Everyone likes to fixate on bullpen decisions because that's what we see. But I mean, managers do so much more than just that. But I think, one of the greatest assets he offered this year was his calming presence. You never knew if the Rangers had just won their 10th straight game or had just blown their 6th straight game, right? And I think that permeated from his office into the clubhouse and helped. And, as far as the transactions, Chris Young deserves a lot of credit for some of the moves he made, but a lot of these moves were, years in the making. And John Daniels deserves a ton of credit too. You think about, all right, Jonah Heim was acquired in a trade, 3 years ago, and that's the John Daniels era. Nathaniel Lowe, same thing prior to the 2021 season, acquired in a trade. Marcus Semien and Corey Seager were signed, in the John Daniels era. Josh Young was drafted while John Daniels was the GM. Leody Taveras was signed internationally while John Daniels was the GM. Adolis Garcia acquired while John Daniels was the GM. And these are not, other than Seager and Semien, these are not big money moves, right? These are, for cash considerations deals like Adolis. Jonah Heim was acquired in a trade that just the Rangers wanted to get rid of Elvis Andrus' money. Nathaniel Lowe was traded for some prospects. The Rangers did a really good job of not necessarily only dominating the top of the market, which they did with Seager and Semien, but they did a lot of, really good work in the under the radar moves or the middle of the market type moves. You mentioned John Gray, he kind of fitting that middle of the market category. Same with Nathan Eovaldi.
Speaking of a pitcher, and by the way, we are talking to obviously the Texas Rangers play-by-play broadcaster and studio analyst, Jared Sandler. Again, not related to Adam Sandler, if anybody hasn't listened to that. But Jordan Montgomery was unbelievable pickup by the Texas Rangers at the trade deadline. A lot of people forget what Jordan Montgomery did for the Yankees. And I've been speaking about Jordan Montgomery. He was the Yankees' best pitcher over the last couple of years in the playoffs. And I know Brian Cashman had to make that move. They wanted to bring in Harrison Bader, and Harrison Bader looked very, very good in his first playoff with the New York Yankees. But he's no longer a part of this team. Jordan Montgomery has been proving himself year in and year out. Even when he was with St. Louis, he looked really, really good when he was traded to St. Louis. And then he came here with the Texas Rangers, and what he did in the playoffs was unbelievable. He was the catalyst with that pitching staff. Everybody keeps talking about, Gray and Evaldi. Let's get to it real. Jordan Montgomery was the best pitcher throughout the playoffs for the Texas Rangers. What were your thoughts when they added Jordan Montgomery, and what were your thoughts the way he played in the playoffs?
Yeah, well, I love the acquisition. It wasn't a cheap acquisition. A lot of people, put a lot of focus on the Max Scherzer acquisition, but the two guys the Rangers gave up to get Jordan Montgomery and Chris Stratton, Tekoa Roby or TK Roby and Thomas Sajaci are guys who are going to be major league players. I mean, Roby has some health stuff, so as long as he can stay healthy, he will be. But, Thomas Sajaci isn't necessarily going to be a multi-time All-Star, but he's going to be one of these guys who, is a culture guy and be, an everyday player for a long time. And so it wasn't cheap, what they did, but they obviously they saw an opportunity and they took advantage of it. I would even go so far as to say, guys, and I'm scrambling to pull this up, but you talk about the playoffs. Well, we were just talking about the Rangers' struggles in the post All-Star break stretch, and that did extend into September. Well, Jordan Montgomery's last 5 regular season starts were essentially playoff starts. The Rangers were fighting tooth and nail for a playoff spot, and I'm pulling it up right now, guys. His last 5 starts. So, not only, or we'll go last 4 starts. So he's not only facing, playing and starting big games, but he starts once against Toronto while the Rangers are fighting with the Blue Jays for a wild card spot. He faces Boston, right? That Boston wasn't really in the playoff picture. And then his last 2 starts are against Seattle. And the Rangers were, jockeying for a playoff spot in the wild card position with the Mariners. And over his last 4 regular season starts, he gave up 2 runs in 27 innings. That's crazy. And so, that to me, that also that means something too. I mean, those were essentially playoff starts. And, if you go from that through his last start of the postseason, so he ends up, let's see here. So he makes, let's see that. Oh, I got to do that. Change that. All right. So his last 10 starts, he has a 1.86 ERA. 4 of those in the regular season. We just talked about it, and 6 in the postseason. All right. That's tough to do. So, he was a stud, and I mean, it was a great acquisition by Chris Young. A lot of Rangers fans, really want the Rangers to bring him back. He made himself a whole heck of a lot, of money. I'm not sure if he's going to go back to the Rangers, but there's, whoever gets him, they're going to get a guy who, competes his ass off. He doesn't have the sexiest, bag of tricks, but he gets outs. And one of the things we heard, talked to Susan Waldman when the Rangers acquired him. And one of the first things she said was, hey, when he's in tough spots, backed into a corner, guys on base, it seems like he gets better. He certainly doesn't back down. And he found himself in some of those spots with the Rangers. And it seemed like he almost elevated his game a little bit in those situations. And it happened in some really big moments.
Well, I just want to let everybody know his nickname is Gumby. We're going to call him Gumbo Houdini, okay? Because everybody was talking about a Houdini that left, and obviously he has been very successful throughout the league, a relief pitcher. But Montgomery, he has been Houdini. Every single time he gets people on second and third, and there's 1 out. This guy finds a way to get outs. It's unbelievable. And the Yankees, I mean, Brian Cashman has come out and said, and maybe Jordan Montgomery, I know the Yankees are one of the teams that would be interested in Jordan Montgomery if they fail to get Yamamoto, which they're the favorites, supposedly. We'll see what happens in January. But Montgomery might not want to go back there because the Yankees parted ways with him for a guy that he believed he was better than. He didn't come out and say it, but I do believe he thought, hey, I've been your best pitcher. I've been the guy that came from your farm system. There's not many successful farm system guys that have come out of your farm system and have been successful pitchers. And you decided to part ways with me because you didn't think I fit where we were going as an organization. He was very upset at Brian Cashman, very disgusted.
He talked about it when the Rangers acquired him. That that hurt. That was not expected. He, I don't know that he necessarily has your typical New York City personality, Yankees type personality. I think he's happy to hide and not necessarily be front and center of the media, but that was home for him. Like you mentioned, that was the organization he knew. And I think he was definitely taken aback. Some guys get traded. They know they're going to get traded. Jordan Montgomery this year knew he was going to get traded. It was a fait accompli, but that wasn't the case, that 2 seasons ago with the Yankees. And that's an experience that he has talked about very openly.
Yeah, Jacob deGrom, I think, was the same way too. Because even though he did well with the Mets fans, I think he always wanted to be like more of that like Southern type guy too. And signed the big contract with the Rangers.
And guys, I love New York. I don't. This is not a shot at New York, but I think
take it. Go ahead, because all the Boston fans hate us.
Yeah, but I think sometimes New York fans think, and I say this after getting to know Jacob deGrom. I think sometimes New York fans think this is New York City. Who wouldn't want to play here? Right. And I mean, guys, if you're telling me to write my story, I might not play for the Yankees or the Knicks or the Rangers or the Giants or whatever, but gosh, I'd love to score a big goal at the Garden or hit a big shot at the Garden or silence the crowd at Yankee Stadium, right? I mean, so much of sports runs through New York City, but not everyone's got the personality to deal with that on a daily basis. And, I think someone like Jacob deGrom, he's a perfect example. Some people say, he's not tough enough to be a Met, and whatever. We have those conversations. I just don't think that he wanted to be in New York City. That's not his personality. He's a country Florida guy, and I think he likes being in the South. And I hope Jordan Montgomery liked being in Texas, because I know we'd certainly love to have him back.
So I want to ask about this offseason too, because you look at now after the World Series, we've heard the Rangers still be in on certain big name free agents who obviously spending a lot the last 2 years. Like, what do you think will end up being the approach for them? Do you think they go after more pitching? I've heard they're in on Corbin Burnes, potentially in a trade. What do you think about those?
Yeah, I think the trade stuff is a really interesting path for them. Unfortunately, the Rangers are handcuffed in some ways financially because of the TV situation. They're a Bally's team, and no one really knows what's going to happen this upcoming season. We don't know where the Rangers TV games are going to be played. And there's over $100 million that are kind of frozen right now because of, the whole Diamond Sports Group deal. So I think there are two things. One, the Rangers have spent big each of the last 2 off seasons. I know that, Rangers fans are going to tell you, they need to go spend money on Montgomery and Hader and blah, blah, blah. Just me in general, I'm not necessarily the first guy in line of the sign a reliever for $20 million a year. So, if the Rangers don't get Josh Hader, that's fine. I think you can build bullpens other ways. He's an outstanding player. Love to have Jordan Montgomery back. I think, in a perfect world, maybe you can do that and not feel handcuffed in so doing. But, I think if there was an offseason where the Rangers maybe didn't, had a little bit of a governor on their spending, as unfortunate as is, because of what they've done the last 2 off seasons, they can maybe withstand that. But there's a lot of uncertainty with the money. And so I think the trade route is an interesting one. Now, you trade for a guy, that doesn't mean that, he's free. But if you trade for a guy who's pre-free agency, someone like Corbin Burnes, still not going to be super cheap, but going to be way cheaper than, what he would be on the open market. And, I think the Rangers, they have surplus in certain areas where it would make sense. But I do think that the biggest move they make, whatever it is going to be a trade and not some big splash in free agency like they've done the last couple of years. And Corbin Burnes is a guy I know they really like. Tyler Glasnow is a guy that, they really liked. I think one of the challenges is a lot of people are asking about Evan Carter and Wyatt Langford. And I think those 2 guys are pretty much untouchable unless we're talking about a superstar, type player. And so beyond that, will teams be able to find a group of prospects that makes sense, or will the Rangers have to make a trade from their major league roster? I think those are some of the challenges that the Rangers front office will have to deal with in negotiating and trying to find a commensurate package.
As everybody knows, we are talking to, obviously, the Texas Rangers play-by-play broadcaster and studio analyst, Jared Sandler. Jared, 2 players that really stuck out to me in the playoffs offensively was obviously Garcia, where everybody they were booing him. He went crazy on, during, I think it was in the NLCS, the ALCS. We've seen Garcia really show up in the big games throughout the playoffs. He was sensational throughout the season, and he was a journeyman. He wasn't, he wasn't a Texas Ranger his whole career. And then Josh Ung who to me is one of the best young power hitters in baseball. What were your thoughts to those two players during the playoffs?
Well, I'll tell you guys. So, the Adolis story is fascinating, right? He came over from Cuba, but he wasn't, one of these big time signings that, everyone was waiting, where's he going to go? His older brother Adonis, had a little bit of time in the majors, and the Rangers acquired Adolis. The Cardinals designated him for assignment, and the Rangers acquired him for pennies. And so he made his debut with the Rangers at the very end of 2020. The COVID year. I'll be honest with you guys, I don't even remember that. I don't remember Adolis Garcia at all that year. But that next spring, he's having this awesome spring. And if you look at Adolis Garcia, he looks like a Greek god. I mean, he is. I don't think there's like any body fat. He's super muscular. I mean, he's kind of like a cartoon character in that way. Great personality, smiles. Like, it's tough to miss him. And he does all the exciting things. He hits the ball a mile. He throws the ball 1,000,000 miles an hour from the outfield. And it looks like his jersey's about to bust to the seams. And he had this great spring training. Well, we know that spring training can be very much a fool's gold type deal. And he ended up not making the team out of camp. But a week and a half later, Ronald Guzman in Tampa Bay, former Yankee legend Ronald Guzman.
How about Yankee legend?
Well, I'll tell you what, he wasn't a Yankee legend, but I don't know if you guys, he was the first, I forget what it was, but he had 3 home run game at Yankee Stadium with the Rangers. And then ended up, there's a
thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, there's a long list of Rangers who became Yankees, but it didn't really work out. But Ronald Guzman had lost out the first base job to Nathaniel Lowe. And the Rangers like Guzman. They weren't going to win in 2021. And so, hey, if you want to try, play the outfield, cool. So he did a little bit in spring training. And then his first game, I think it was like April 11th, April 12th. In the very first inning, second or third batter, there's a little bloop between short and left field, and Ronald Guzman tears his MCL coming in. The very first thing he ever did as a major league outfielder. The very next day, Adolis Garcia gets called up, and the rest is history. And he has been, for whatever this means, when the Rangers players are introduced at home, Adolis Garcia gets the loudest round of applause. He has got great personality, and for him to do what he did in big moments, and he has so much fun playing. It just made it that much more fun, right? His emotion after some of those big moments, and he doesn't mind the booing, right? He was public enemy number 1 in Houston, and he's going to be next year as well. And it's going to be a lot of fun to go to Houston. And
I love what he did against Houston.
It was great. And so he was awesome. It was incredibly special. We've seen Adolis Garcia get hot. For him to get hot in the postseason in that fashion. And also, guys, I don't know, people in Ranger circles know this, but the symmetry of it all. I mean, the Rangers were last in the World Series in 2011, got their hearts broken by the Cardinals. David Freese made his name then. Well, Adolis Garcia broke David Freese's record of most RBIs in a single postseason, and he broke it this postseason, obviously, and he broke it against the Astros in the CS. And he set a record for most RBIs in a championship series round. And so, I mean, he just got super hot in some big games, and he just put the team on his back in the ALCS. Is incredible. And Josh Young, I mean, from day one this year, Bruce Bochy hit him 5th in a really good lineup, a guy that struggled last September when he made his major league debut, but Boch was like, got confidence in this guy, and he was really good offensively. But I think what was most impressive was what he did defensively. And had he not gotten hurt, I think he would have definitely been a Gold Glove finalist. But what he brought to the table defensively was super important for a team that, not many people are going to remember this 5, 10, 15 years from now. But defensively, they were one of the best teams in franchise history, and that was a huge factor for them during their postseason run.
All right, one last question for me. Your favorite broadcast, like favorite Game 2 broadcast during the playoffs and the regular season?
Oh, man. Well, I mean, playoffs, I guess.
Stupid question, Speedy. Stupid question.
No. I mean, listen, I'll say this. Instead of saying favorite game, I think favorite moments from a broadcast in-game standpoint. Mitch Garver's grand slam against the Orioles, because my broadcast partner, Matt Hicks, had the phrase afterwards, can you take me higher? And this was right when the whole Rangers Creed phenomenon was starting. Every moment of Adolis Garcia against the Astros, every pimp job, all of that was awesome. And then, I mean, the Adolis's walk-off against the Diamondbacks was great. Corey Seager's home run was incredible. I mean, that was remarkable. And then his reaction, and he is not someone who emotes that way. That was pretty sweet. I think during the regular season, the Rangers had not won a series in Houston in 4 years. The Astros, obviously they've dominated Major League Baseball, and they've certainly dominated the AL West, but they have
dominated cheating too. Let's be honest.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
They have dominated the Rangers in a big way, and in April the Rangers won a series against the Astros, and it was the rubber game was a Sunday night game, and it was heated. The guy got hit, and Framber Valdez was talking. I mean, Framber's always in the middle of it. And Marcus Semien hit a big grand slam that basically was the dagger, and it silenced the crowd. And that moment stands out to me because that was the moment where I think we all looked around, and the Rangers had gotten off to a good start. But that was the moment we all looked around and said, they just took 2 out of 3 in Houston. Maybe this team has something. And obviously things could have changed, right? They could have had 5 abysmal months after. But that was the first time early on I think people looked around like, they might have something. And that was a really cool moment. I think, thinking back to the regular season early in the year in April, Marcus Semien's grand slam in Houston.
Let me just, before we let you go, Jared, I want you to tell all the fans, and you're doing so many great things, and your Sandlot charity is one of them. Tell a little bit about your Sandlot charity and what you've been doing over there in Texas.
Yeah, no, that's really kind of you guys to bring it up. So I started this in 2017. We actually, for the very first time this year, we moved our event from Topgolf to Globe Life Field. We made that decision all the way back in February. I had no idea the Rangers would win the World Series. I had no idea we'd be able to have the World Series trophy at our event, which was really cool. But the charity was started in 2017, and what we are trying to accomplish is raise money for kids with physical and intellectual disabilities, to give them the opportunities or make sure that finance is not in the way of their opportunities to get involved in athletic and active programming. And obviously sports is very meaningful to me. It's meaningful to so many people. But the reason we went that route is one of the biggest needs for kids with disabilities is health and wellness. They oftentimes, if not, whether they can't afford it or they don't have the encouragement to take part in some of this programming, they have very sedentary lifestyles. And on top of that, a big message we try to push is that, people try to put ceilings on these kids. They're amazing. And they are capable of so much more than a lot of people give them credit for. And we want to help prepare them for their life. And, sports on its own maybe isn't, your ability to shoot a basketball in a wheelchair isn't necessarily going to prepare you for the rest of your life. But think about, for you guys, if you guys played sports growing up, you make friends, you build confidence, you learn skills, you problem solve, you deal with interpersonal challenges and leadership stuff, communication, all that. And so indirectly it helps with that. And at the end of the day too, for these kids, it gives them an opportunity to put a smile on their faces. And unfortunately for a lot of these kids, the finances, the cost, to participate in athletics sometimes is prohibitive. I mean, it's $5,000 for these kids to get a wheelchair just for wheelchair basketball. Wow. That's crazy. Right. And, for kids, with a range of disability types, a range of activities, the expenses are remarkably high. And we want to try and negate that as much as we can. And we've had incredible support from the community here in DFW, the athletic community. I'm so grateful, and I appreciate you guys bringing it up. And
absolutely,
I appreciate everyone and their support. We're close to $2 million raised since 2017. And, it's not because of anything I've done. I've got a great board who keeps me from making stupid decisions. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a labor of love for sure.
Come on, Mr. Sandler, put on your yarmulke.
You don't want me
singing.
I love it. That's when, hey guys, that's when I learned about O.J. Simpson was the Hanukkah song.
That's right. Well, I've known a little bit about O.J. Simpson. I'm not going to tell you how I know. Anyways, we really appreciate you. We'd love to get you on the show again. We'd love to work with you on what you're doing with the Sandlot charity. Why don't we stay in touch? We'll follow each other and we'll talk.
We love that. Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. As everybody knows, we were just talking to Texas Rangers play-by-play broadcaster and studio analyst, Jared Sandler. Fantastic.
Yes.
Very good personality. He knows his stuff. He knows his Texas Rangers, and he's going to get himself a ring. I want a ring, Speedy. Could you give me a ring?
They should give you a ring for
No, I want a
predicting
pinky ring. I want you to get me something nice. It's something shiny. You never get me anything nice. I mean, you buy me a couple of meals, I give you a little bit of credit there, but you haven't gotten me anything nice. I want something nice.
Maybe you can
something shiny.
Maybe you can convince Jared to convince the Rangers organization
I do
to
not
give you a ring.
By the way, I'm not hanging out with Robert Kraft, so you're not getting me one of those. Okay?
I didn't say me.
I'm just
You can convince
saying.
Jared to convince the Rangers.
No, I want you. I don't care about anybody. I want you.
You
to
just.
get me
I'm
something.
saying you deserve one from their organization for picking them at the start of the playoffs.
Oh, really? But what about you? I want you to
I
give me
didn't
something.
pick them at the start of the playoffs. I don't get a ring.
Well, they're not giving me any ring. They're not going to give me a dime. They'll give me pennies. They won't even send me a penny. They have to invest that into Simeons and everybody else Seager and everybody else.
Yeah, they can invest it all into Max Scherzer this year.
Well, that's true. And Jacob deGrom and every single Yankee and Met that's on that team.
Maybe Garrett Cole will be next.
All right. So when we come back, he's been waiting carefully, as we all know. We will be talking to former Bengals and Commanders tight end Rick Doc Walker. Speedy, we did do that. Yeah, we'll do that when we come back here on the Sports Loudmouth.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, the Speedster. He's crazy. He's ready. He's intrigued. Speedy Petey. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including The Loudmouth, which airs every single Wednesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune into all our shows and our local listings is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And that was a great guest in Jared Sandler. He was fantastic. The play-by-play broadcaster from the Texas Rangers and studio analyst. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time also on our show, former Bengals and Commanders tight end. You know him as the Doc. We know him as Rick Doc Walker. Rick, what's up, bud?
Hey, guys, I'm doing it, man. Just you guys do the late night deal. I'm an early bird. I wake up, it's dark. So I'm hanging in for you guys. Been hanging in, man.
Well, listen, I'm hanging too, man. I am the early bird special.
But you just don't sleep.
I really don't. I just Doc. I maybe you're a doctor, so maybe you can help me out here.
No.
Oh, you're not a doctor. All right.
No. I just play one during the season.
I know you're not a doctor. I just wanted to, kind of bring you in over here and kind of twist and turn here. But Rick, I have sleep apnea. I don't sleep much. I have the same disease as Reggie White has. And crazy as it may seem, it's hard to sleep. I sleep for 3-4 hours. I wake up and then I don't know how I'm refreshed, but I'm wide awake and I go through the day and I do a radio show. So it's crazy. I don't know how I have the energy, but at the end of the show, I feel like I'm not going to say it, but I feel like a peg-legged seal. Okay. So that's what I feel.
Well, but you're doing what you love to do. We're lucky to be able to make a living in your realm of passion. You're fired up doing what you do for a living. and it's a gift. I mean, a lot of people that don't get the pleasure of being turned on at work. And I always think it's a blessing to be able to, even though you're stuck with lousy squads on the home team side, you're still in the game, and that's important.
Well, we're in the process of getting paid for what we do. That's for sure. But it is a blessing to entertain people. We have, thank God, and I just want to let everybody know, we have our Apple Podcast has broken 35,000 downloads in 2.5 months or 2 months, and
That's awesome.
thank you, Rick, and for all the fans out there that have tuned in and all around the country and all around the world that have checked out our show and the craziness that we deliver when it comes to sports talk radio. We really appreciate everybody, including you, Rick, for giving us the time, because I know you're a busy guy as always. And so when we get into it, Rick, the Bengals, a team that was expected to be a Super Bowl contender, they lose Joe Burrow in the season. And Joe Burrow, he's been in the league for 5-6 years now. He got a big contract in the offseason. We were expecting big things this year. We really were. This team with Jamar Chase and Higgins and Boyd and the running game and Mixon and the offensive line, adding offensive line piece like Brown. You would think that this team was a contender this year with the defense the way it played last year. Obviously, losing Joe Burrow, it was a big loss, but then bringing in Browning, and what Browning has done the last couple of weeks has been just absolutely amazing. It says a lot about the coach. Everybody throwing Taylor under the bus for the last couple of years, thinking that he can't hack it as a head coach. Well, he's hacked it. He's found this kid Browning. He could be a starter somewhere else next year. What are your thoughts to what happened to the Bengals throughout the season, and obviously losing Joe Burrow and then adding a guy like Browning and spontaneously becoming Jeremy Lin?
Well, it shows you the depth of their organization. Mm-hmm. They went through a 30-year period of just floundering, and you get a kid that has energy, an Ohio native who is just fantastic. But what I like about Browning, this guy's a grinder. I know him from his Pac-12 exploits. The guy was a champion, and he doesn't get drafted. He spends time at Minnesota. He invested in himself. And it's so odd that people go, wow, yeah, the guy, because he believed in himself. And I look, there's a dozen backups playing right now in the NFL. With all the restrictions, you breathe on them, you get a flag. And yet we're playing with a lot of backups. So you got to be depth. There's a 53-man roster for a reason. And what the Bengals are showing you now, number one, there's a great pride in winning. The fan base has galvanized it. I mean, I was there. The Big Red Machine was unbelievable. And so it's football in Ohio. And it means a lot. If you look at not only the Buckeyes are kings from the collegiate standpoint. They own the entire state. And that's very rare. But from a professional standpoint, I'm very happy with what's going on there. And they've invested in the offensive line. They fixed it. Their defense has played great. And they're gutting it out now. And it's just a beautiful thing to see when you get staffs are underrated. They're showing you they have people that are helping people get better. Making it to the league is one thing. Then you got to develop to stay in the league and get around people that are competent. The league is flooded with friends and family of staff members. That doesn't mean they're helping units get better. The Bengals are showing you right now they have a complete program.
So talk about your career with the Bengals. It was a younger team at the time in the 70s. You had Forrest Gregg, Anthony Munoz was there. You had that SWAT team, Ken Riley finally getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. What was your experience like the first couple of years? Yeah, first couple of years.
Well, I broke my arm twice. I mean, I heard through it was awful. We were losing. I had 3 coaches in 3 years. I had 5. My first 5 years, I had 5 different head coaches.
Wow.
So you're going through a grinder, you know, and the whole thing about all pro sports, it's about getting in it is one thing. Staying in it is another. Then flourishing in the sport and winning is another cherry on top of it. And to get through that process is brutal. And so you find out about yourself, what you're made of, and it doesn't always work. You got to find a way to fix yourself and then hope that you get enough competent coaches, general managers, architects. You know, this draft, and it's colorful, but there are a lot of amateurs picking people. You got to have, it's an art. Everybody lays on the first round. There's more failures in the first round than there are the last round. That's why I love Purdy. This guy's Mr. Irrelevant, and he's competing for an MVP this year in the National Football League. And so you can pick people all you want, but you can't pick people and determine whether or not they're going to have it inside their heart that they want to be a part of something special. Teams that win have people that give up personal accolades in order to win. And now when, you can win through wagering, fantasy, so many different elements are in the game right now. You can own a team that loses, but you still win because they all make money. So players have got to make up their mind that it's a short window of opportunity. I think the average is about 3.5. Can you survive it? Can you flourish in it? And are you fortunate enough to be surrounded by people that have a bad disposition and want to win? And this is what the winners, that's what they have. The Kansas Cities, the Baltimores, perennial winners. No matter who's on the roster, they find a way to win. Buffalo is in transformation right now. I was not high on them at all, but I am now because we're not trying to make one guy great. They're developing a team. They're running the ball. They're playing great defense. And so we're watching teams now. I think there's 6 or 7 teams with 6 or 7 wins.
Yep.
Look at the NFC South. I love it because it's wide open right now. And even though at this point, San Francisco and Baltimore would be the king and queens, as I look at it, that could change in 2 weeks. So I think we're in for some real fireworks in January.
We are talking to former Bengals and Commanders tight end Rick Doc Walker. The tight end position has really stuck out over the last couple of years for the NFL. And now these tight ends can run like wide receivers. They're unbelievably fast. They have great hands. They can block. I mean, there's so many good. You have Kittles, you have Kelsey, you have Andrews. You have so many good tight ends. And even guys are being found. I mean, look at the Cowboys, Ferguson. There are guys being found right now.
Nice.
Yeah, it really transform themselves into good wide receivers, aka tight ends. What has been the transformation in the NFL the last 10, 15 years at the tight end position?
Well, the passing game. Rule changes. Can't touch the quarterback. And now you're better off if you can keep the ball in flight and also look at the wide receivers, the one position that has been elevated beyond my wildest dreams. Are the level of wideouts. Guys come out now and they're ready to play immediately at a pro level. I got to play with some great ones. Art Monk, Isaac Curtis, Billy Brooks, these guys, Gary Clark. They come in now in bushels, but you got to have an offensive line to allow your quarterback time. And so to me, it's about 10 guys. My most important 10 guys are the 5 offensive linemen, the 4 defensive linemen, and 1 quarterback. Your top 10 better be in that, or you're not winning. And you got to have big uglies on both sides. And now these kids at wide receiver, you can get there's 6 or 7 of them that'll come out in this year's draft and they'll start. I've never seen anything like this. Rules have a lot to do with it. Flag football, 7-on-7 camps, quarterback schools, all these academies, tight end academies. The thing that Kittle and the guys have put together is genius. So, guys that are able to get the tutelage from veterans. That's never happened before. We hang out in the offseason with competitors, but everybody comes together to learn. And I think the game is in great position right now. The officiating has got to catch up because there's so much speed now in athleticism that, quite frankly, is some of the worst officiating I've ever seen. They got to evolve. They got to catch up, and they may have to retool their whole group.
Well, you got to reach out to Roger Goodell, okay? We need Doc Walker.
He ain't gonna listen to me.
Let's find our refs. Let's go out there.
Hey, brother, ching ching.
Hey, listen, man, I'm trying to hook you up here. Roger Goodell can hook you up with a job. You find those referees, man. I mean, you want me to be a ref? You want me to be a ref? I mean, I think half the players will probably be running after me, during the game if I'm calling.
Hey, I'm not saying it's easy. Baseball's going through. They've expanded the bases. I mean, look. Every sport is going through a redesign, if you will.
No question.
We got the play-in tournament in basketball. I mean, hockey, which is just an unbelievable sport, the hardest sport to follow with your eyes, and yet now there's so much glamour, speed, power, and endurance. That sport is just – I love it because of the brutality involved in it. Being here and watching the Capitals and Alex Ovechkin and most of his goals I've seen, it's an incredible arena that we have right now, all the way across the board. Women's basketball, probably the most increased sport in my lifetime. and seeing
Ladies
it
and
now,
gentlemen,
man, it's
Doc
great.
Walker is a hockey fan, ladies and gentlemen.
I
You
love the
heard it
puck,
here.
man. I love the puck.
Oh.
I grew up in LA. The Kings, Jerry Buster tried to get me involved in that. And it was tough. They were awful until Gretzky got out there. But
That's
we've been
right.
blessed here. Being able to see him win that cup was amazing. And to be in a city where they win a world championship. We've had that happen here 3 times, the Mystics, Capitals, and the Curly W. So I live for it, man. To me, I'm a championship junkie because you got to play to get on top of the hill, man. It's like Survivor and seeing people climb that. And I don't even care if the Cowboys are good enough to pull it off. I'll support the game at the highest level, and I appreciate it.
Well, let's get the Commanders winning. I mean, maybe they need to stick something in Bill Belichick's pants or something. I mean, hey, Robert Kraft, I mean, he likes to go to, different places to get himself, influenced. Maybe you
motivated.
Bill yeah, well, maybe you can hook Bill Belichick.
We got a new ownership group, and hopefully they're up all night and they're working on this thing. I have no idea what's going to happen. We got the 3 toughest weeks in the world.
No question.
For me, this is the first time in my football life that I've not been thinking about who can we beat. Now it's about how can we position ourselves to go from 4th to 3rd in the draft. I mean, now it's about projecting because this operation here is shot.
Well, I'm going to tell you,
and it's a tough way to be.
Project this, my friend, Mr. Walker.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you this. The Jets this week, you're going to terminate them. So enjoy, okay? Because that
defense, brother, that defense is serious. You ever seen us on offense?
Have you ever seen us on offense?
I've ever seen them on defense.
Yeah, I understand. But your defense is serious. Now, the question is, there was so much anticipation about the likelihood of having Aaron return. Now the win is out of that sale.
Yeah.
So do they go through an emotional letdown? Because those guys were playing with hope. But, I like their coach. I think you start off on Hard Knocks. They've been on TV as much as the Cowboys have been on, and it's been brutal. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens up in New York. Our team, so unpredictable, you just have no idea.
This is what's going to happen at the end of the season. That's what's going to happen.
You think so?
Oh,
okay.
my God. As a Jet fan, and honestly, I sit here and I don't want to brag about it because nobody wants to brag about it being a Jet fan because you sit here every single year and you try to give excuse after excuse. There's no excuses anymore. This team, their defense is ridiculous. There's no question that they are. But here's the thing: when they're on the field, there's 60 minutes in a game. When they're on the field, 42 minutes, 43 minutes. It's in the fourth quarter. It's just they give up. They're done. They're put a cork in them. They're dead. I know you like Robert Saleh, and that's great. So does Steve Weich. Okay, we love Steve. Steve's a nice guy, but you can't sell me that Robert Saleh at the end of the game. And I know I loved his pouting when he was over there in San Francisco. When you sit there and you make excuses about this team, there's no excuse to this team. This team has given up. They've choked. This offense, you wanted Nathaniel Hackett. Robert.
No, I didn't.
No. I'm not saying you. I'm saying Robert Saleh wanted Nathaniel Hackett because he knew he wanted Aaron Rodgers. And boy, oh boy, this has failed over here. It's failed.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson, I mean, how could you sit here? You got a weapon like that. You have a weapon like Breece Hall. These two weapons, two of the best at what they do at their positions, and they can't succeed because guess what? Their offensive coordinator has his head up his ass.
Well, who did Flacco piss off?
I don't know, but he's over there in Cleveland winning. So
boy, he looks nice.
He looks nice. He does.
And I said it all week on our show. I go, did Joe? He must have insulted somebody. I mean, that would have been the answer to your prayer. But either way, somebody's got to win the game.
By the way,
and from our standpoint, you guys can have it.
Yeah, by the way, we can have it, but that's not going to happen because the Jets will do anything to lose the game because every time they think they're going to win, it seems like they make more mistakes with penalty calls. I think the Jets, sitting here every single game, I think the Jets have the weirdest penalty calls I've ever seen in my entire life. How are you offsides? You know, week in and week out, your offensive line. And I understand you have a bunch of guys that are coming off the practice field at the offensive line. There's no question that they do. You are practicing during the week. Your coaches are telling you to stay onside. How is it that you're having 7, 8, 9 penalties a game offsides? It's mind-boggling. That's coaching, buddy. It's coaching.
Yeah. Are these guys asking the refs beforehand if they're offsides, like our friends Kadarius Tony?
Oh,
well, no. I mean, that was so bizarre. I mean, I just, but that's what happens, in the league. They talk about attention to detail. It's so many little things, and that's what the winners do. It's so odd to see Kansas City in this mode. They've complained about Bieniemy here because he's an attention to detail freak, and obviously Kansas City misses that. Our guys are whining like sissies because the guy's changing up things. They're in last place. We got guys complaining about a guy that's trying to drag them out of the sewage, and they're bitching about it. So we're stuck in the same situation, but somebody actually will be named Victor on Sunday, and that's going to be interesting.
Worst offense versus worst defense. Who will prevail?
I think I'm going to be probably sleeping in the first 2 minutes of the game because that's what it's going to be.
But keep in mind, this is the same defense that made the Giants look like a good offense. So
yeah. Well, then we can't beat the Giants either. We can't beat the Giants.
But the first game was like a 14-7. That was an ugly game. I thought the Giants would win that. But the fact that the Giants almost put up 30 on them the second time, like that's what never happened.
Yeah. You're really bringing me down.
Bringing you down. I'm a damn zombie watching this team. Okay,
Johnny Sample, Confession of a Dirty Ball Player.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you.
I read that really early, man. That was my guy. I mean, the Jets. I'm a Joe Namath Jet guy from that era. That's my favorite uniform. We had a lot of guys that played with Santana Moss, who's here, a great friend and a great player here. Yeah, I do too. It's guys that I know that have played up there have always enjoyed the experience, but right now this was so disappointing because they were in prime time way too much without Aaron. I mean, that was we just got stuck with it, and hey man, sometimes you get the short stick.
Well, a short stick. Mentioning Santana Moss, the first time I met Santana Moss, he was out here in Long Island. The Jets just drafted him, and I met him in Bayshore. Okay, he was in Bayshore, Long Island. He was looking at Best Buy for I think a sports game or something like that at the Best Buy, and I was going up and down the aisles. I'm not a video game guy, and I look past it, and I was like, I think I was like, if I'm not mistaken, I think I was like 17, 18 years old. And I looked past and I'm like, that's Santana Moss. And it's like, I'm looking at it and I was like, I walked right past him and I'm looking at what he's looking at. And I was like, okay, I'm walking right back. And I turned back around and he looks at me again. He's like, yes, I'm Santana Moss. And it was so funny. And I didn't ask him for his autograph. I said, what are you doing here? He says, well, this is the only place that has the video game I'm looking for. I can't find it. Could you help me? And I didn't even work there. I was helping him find this video game, which, by the way, we found. So that's how I met
Santana. He's a good dude, man.
He is a very good dude. Very funny. And believe it or not, he's a lot smaller than he looks. He's not a big guy, but fast as hell, man. Lightning fast.
Yeah, lower body, the guys he's built, he's just very difficult to tackle. I was watching the new Prime Video, watching Barry, Bye Barry.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that.
Looking at, oh God, I love it.
Great documentary.
Loaded a body, that low center of gravity, and the greatest balance. He and Joe Washington got to play with Joe, and it's just to see guys that have that kind of freakishness that can get in and out of breaks and getting out of jams. I thought that was a hell of a documentary. Learned a lot about him, and seeing Detroit through those years. I remember it because I was covering our team at the time, and that NFC Championship game that was played here in DC. There's great memories, and I highly recommend it. It was a good doc.
Fantastic documentary, and people forget that I don't care what anybody says. And by the way, his father coming out and saying that he's the second greatest running back of all time. Barry Sanders is the greatest running back to ever step on, and there were good ones. Jim Brown, Walter Payton. They're fantastic players. They really are. They revolutionized the game. This guy is people are lost. As a matter of fact, I want to make you laugh for a second. One of our fans, one of our fans years and years ago, when Zeke was one of the better running backs in the league, had the audacity to call the show and tell us that if Ezekiel Elliott played on that Lions team with that offensive line, he would have been just as good or better than Barry Sanders. Now, you played with Barry Sanders, and you know who Ezekiel Elliott is. Do you think Ezekiel Elliott is anywhere close to the talent Barry Sanders was?
No, I like Zeke, but no, nobody is in that realm.
No.
I mean, Emmett would be the closest, and Emmett, who was blessed with one of the best offensive lines of all time.
No question.
I would love to have seen, and that's the one illustration we've used a lot over the years. Barry in Dallas, the record is shot. I mean, because Emmett wasn't getting touched for some games. I called one of the greatest games I've ever seen, played the Giants in the Meadowlands, and he dislocated his shoulder. Never came out. It was one of the grittiest performances I've ever seen against the G-men. No, both of them are great. I mean, that greatness is all based on era, rules, and because all of it comes in factors, and they're all great in their era. It's just amazing. I saw seeing OJ at ground level is frightening. It was frightening. You just can't imagine somebody that swift. But there've been a lot of great ones. I mean, a lot of them have come through. I played with John Riggins. You had John was in New York. Just amazing, man, what these guys can do in the body shots they took. I've said over the years, seeing John on Monday, his body's black and blue, and seeing what this guy gave up. It's just absolutely amazing, the punishment these guys took in the run era. Now, I mean, everything's the shotgun. Hell, we ran shotgun on 4th and inches. Goal line, we're in the gun. I mean, it's a whole new game now.
Boy, is it ever.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that 83 season. You guys won the Super Bowl against the Dolphins. It's funny. One of my uncles is a Dolphins fan. He was a Dolphins fan at first, but also rooted for the Redskins as a kid as well. And he told me that game he rooted for the Redskins in that game because Miami already won the Super Bowl. And you guys were kind of, Dan Marino was there. You kind of were thought of as underdogs. What was that season like? What were some of those teammates like that you played with?
Well, that was great. Dan, we didn't play against Dan. Dan, I think it was the following year.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
It was the Killer Bees, all those guys, great guys, man. Played against Bo Camper. He was a Buckeye. We played him in the Rose Bowl. I mean, the league was I'm prejudiced because it's the era. I think it's the greatest era, or one of the greatest times to play the way the game was played in balance. I mean, we got Gibbs and we got Shula. I mean, it was a lot of great coaching going on at the time. We had a league MVP in our kicker, Mark Mosley.
Oh yeah,
when the MVP, that I don't know if that'll ever happen again.
No,
it was. But you had the Killer Bees being at the Rose Bowl. It's just an iconic facility, and we won a Rose Bowl there and a Super Bowl there. So a very special place for me. And to get in those games, I mean, you never know. We got in. Wasn't our best team. Our best team, I thought, was the following year, and then we got blown up in the Super Bowl, being 14-2. So it doesn't matter what you do. You got to finish. And you got to get to that game and play your butt off and hope that things go your way. And that's why it's the biggest spectacle in our society is that Super Bowl, because of how hard it is to get there and then get there and win it. And it's amazing. And that's why the race now, it's been a crappy season in some parts, but we know what's going to happen. These next 3 weeks, King Kong will evolve. He will stand up. And we're going to get King Kong Godzilla eventually. And that's what I live for.
Yeah,
waiting to see ones versus ones.
Well, the Jets are green, and I'd say they're Godzilla, and I guess Washington's King Kong. So,
well, I don't know.
Enjoy that game, friends.
I'm numb. I'm numb on this.
We are talking to former Bengals and Commanders tight end Rick Doc Walker. I don't want to keep you on too long. I know you're tired. You're staying up for us. We really appreciate.
Oh no, I love it, man.
We love you. Okay,
support the industry, man. We're living the dream. We got to support the system, man. If we don't see ecosystem, we don't support it, it'll die. We have to support it. And I just think that I admire anybody that generates a gig in this space and lives the dream and do what you want to do, because there's a market there. The market is vast, and it's not what everybody thinks it is. It's a little bit for everybody. You got to cut your slices out.
Of course.
And you attract people to get it. They get you. And they get it in the way that you preach it. Everybody's different with it. I don't think there's a right or wrong, but I don't want people that don't get it. I call all my folks canines, and they understand what it means. and we preach it and teach it in a different manner.
Yep.
We're speaking in tongues. And you're not, everybody's not, I don't even care about the masses. We talk to the people that understand it. And we give medicine to those that we heal people with it.
Well,
and
listen,
it's not for everybody. And I love that.
well, Doc, let me tell you something. I have a lot to give to this industry, and I can't wait to slap it right onto them nationally. I think what we do, I think it takes a lot. People don't realize how hard it is. It's not easy to talk on a mic and entertain people. And, I've done it on a toilet before. And by the way, people think I'm crazy, but I have done a show on a toilet before. I was sick. And
why not?
Yeah, hey, listen, I didn't make
the acoustics. Well, the acoustics alone. That means you're smart. Yeah.
That's true.
Great vibe. Yeah. Like, come on.
I tried to keep it away so they didn't see me, but that was a while ago, by the way. But I was
Don't worry, we got proof of that last week with our friend Sean Smith from the bathroom.
By the way, he actually did the interview in the shower. That was pretty funny, actually.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
The technology now, I mean, I remember, again, I'm old enough to where there were payphones. It looked.
Yep.
I never thought, I mean, we were working on StreamYard. We're looking at Zooms. And I do, every format. If there's a format that you don't utilize, that's your fault. I try to be on everything because that's what it's called, mass media. During the game last week, I was on X the whole game. I'll do an Xcast, do post-game, pre-game, do it all because it's a labor of love and people will feel it from you. That's why I love my boy McAfee. I love the way he's doing it because he's doing it his way, and it's a generation of everybody's different. Everybody's unique. Everybody's got their hand in the pot for different reasons. And that's the beauty of fantasy and wagering because it's added layers of communities that we didn't have before.
Yep.
When I came in the game, it was prohibited. They had signs everywhere. Don't do this. Don't do that. Now I got to police it. In the NIL, I love college football. And it is just crazy what's going on, how chaotic this is right now. And once they figure it out and legislate it and work, and they got to govern it.
It's crazy.
It's the 20s now. But once they figure this out, then it's going to be fantastic. So the bowl games, everything. There's not a facet of this. High school, I love every facet of it. Flag, Pop Warner, the whole thing. Coached it on every level because it's so much fun to give back as it was given to me. And these people, strangers, people didn't look like me, picked me up, took me in. It's such a community involvement. I'll never get away from high school, although the brass people don't really like it. But to me, if you don't go back and fertilize those grounds that produce the stock, then you're insane. So to me, every kid, I don't want kids sitting around on video games for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
I want, I grew up, everybody was either out. They were skateboarding, they were riding bicycles, doing wheelies, playing catch. Football, you play in the middle of the street. You go to parks now, there's nobody out there.
Yeah.
Nobody out there. So
I
I'm all
agree
in for
with
pickleball. I'm promoting pickleball now.
No,
Get out, do something other than sitting on your behind, and blowing your belly up.
Well,
our friend Chris Gronkowski knows to think about pickleball.
Oh, there's no question. There's no question about him too, by the way. And I will say this, everything that we do, I've been doing this for 11 years. I started a digital profile network before everybody. Podcast just came out when I started a digital profile live radio network. And now we've had a lot of people come in. I've helped, I've trained, I've taught a lot of people about digital radio. I know more about digital radio than probably a lot of people in the industry because I pretty much brought it to the center of what digital radio has now become. And I'm not going to get credit for it. I don't want people to pat me on the back. And if you want to do that, you're more than welcome to.
Take it.
But, yes, but nobody's going to do that. What I want to do is I want to make a statement by what I want to do in the industry. And that's take my personality and my voice to the national stage where I can show people what radio should be these days. And it's supposed to draw new fans. It's supposed to give the fans something to laugh about. Pat McAfee does it for the football end of it. I do it for all sports. And I think that what I've tried to bring to the page and to the sector here is an understanding what radio is and what it should be now nationally. And I think what you do, as you've been in the broadcasting world for a very long time and you are a football player, you give a different outlook to what it was and what it is today. And I respect you for that. And I appreciate you joining us as always, and keep up the good work, man, because I think that the way sports needs to be brought to everybody's attention, not only nationally, but television wise or radio wise, people like you, people that have been in the industry and that wants to give back to the industry, not only in the game, but in the radio type of way or the broadcasting way, can help generate new radio and broadcasting stars in the future.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I was lucky enough to be able to coach youth sports here for 7 years, and I want to be in every facet, every fiber of it, basketball, baseball, every sport, and giving a contribution for the coaches that coached me in the 60s. And one of the greatest coaches I ever had was Herman McCulley at 13. I was undefeated at 13. Baseball was my number one sport. And to have a guy to challenge you at 13, we were undefeated. The only time I've ever been undefeated, 25-0, was at 13. When you win young, you understand that you get a guy he challenges. He told us day one, first meeting, we will win it all. We will be undefeated. I mean, I've never heard everybody say play to win, play hard, best team win. He didn't play any of that crap. So I blame him and I congratulate him for making me a fanatic in pursuit of winning, which means you sacrifice a lot, but you get a lot. Absolutely. And so that's been my message, and being able to coach kids and then now talk to the public about all the nuances of the game for those that care about it, because they don't have an understanding of it. How could you? If you didn't play, I think all you have to do is to play it in high school level. It's the same game. They may change some dimensions, but same game. But we got people that have excelled in it and haven't done any of it. One of the best coaches I ever had was Dick Tomey at UCLA. Defensive back coach, coached at the University of Arizona, Desert Swarm. He never played football. He's a baseball guy. You know, a smart guy can evolve. You can learn. Great teacher, had great teams. And so that's my deal. I am just so anti-BS coaches. You have an obligation to help people extend their careers and live their dreams out, not just taking a paycheck because you're a friend of the head coach. You got to be qualified. And the teams that do it win, and the teams that don't flip, and they're terrible.
Well, Mike McDaniels on the Dolphins never played professional football. I can promise you that. And look what he's turned out to be. So there's many, many great guys. And we really appreciate you joining us. I don't want to keep you on any longer. We really appreciate the
All right, brother.
Give us. And we'll get you on again, and we'll stay in touch. Speedy we'll swap Twitters, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah, we'll do it, man. I do. Anybody want, I'm on, because I support. This is our field. This is our industry.
Absolutely.
We grow our own crops. You know, we're farmers, man. We got to cultivate, stimulate, motivate, and make these damn things go up to be beanstalks. That's on us, because they're not going to give us anything. We got to take what we want.
Well, I'm going to give it to
my
him.
philosophy.
I'm going to give it to him. I'm just going to give it to him the right way, not any other way. Anyways,
love
Doc,
you, brothers, man. Appreciate you.
Love you too, man. Thank you for joining us as always.
I'll be back anytime. All right. Thank you. All right.
Rick Doc Walker. He stayed up. I mean, he stayed up. He's waiting. He was waiting. And now he's on. And he gave us a great interview. He's fantastic. Well, both guests that we had tonight, and we always have great guests, but the guys, they give us a little bit different thoughts, not only into the industry, but in sports. And both of them are in the broadcasting, world. I mean, obviously Doc is in, in the football, and one's in baseball.
Yeah, he does some college football too.
Yeah, so we really, really appreciate the time they have given us tonight. It's been a great show. We have a little bit more time, as everybody knows about that. So why don't we finish up the show? I want to get into the Yamamoto thing, because it seems like it's a closed deal, but I don't believe that. MLB Network's Jon Morosi says that the Yankees are the favorites to land Yamamoto. ESPN's Jeff Passan says that he doesn't expect Yamamoto to get $300 million. Oh, by the way, Josh, you're going to owe me some dinner, because you were bragging about that. But it is still expected to get the biggest contract for a player coming from Japan. The Mets and the Dodgers are also considered strong contenders to sign Yamamoto, and the Phillies are considered a dark horse. Yamamoto did not meet with the Red Sox on the East Coast trip, so they are out on him. The Yankees are expected to pursue Corbin Burnes in a trade if Yamamoto goes elsewhere. Yamamoto is likely to get either a 7-year deal or a 10-year with a opt-out clause after the 4th year. The posting window for Yamamoto to sign ends January 4th. He will sign, okay? And I think he's going to wait. He wants to be 1-9. That's what's going to happen. The Yankees are not going to lose out on Yamamoto. I know Met fans want to sit here and think they got a chance. The Dodgers already know they don't have a chance. I cannot see Yamamoto going to the Dodgers. That's why they added Tyler Glass now. They don't need another pitcher in that pitching staff. They have a great pitching staff set up right now. They have 2 young pitchers that they're going to be calling up. One of them is in the top 10 when it comes to baseball's top 10 in list. They're not going to be looking for another pitcher. So I think the Dodgers are out of it. So I think maybe the Phillies and the Mets. Besides the Yankees, we know the Boston Red Sox are no longer going to be a part of this. That makes me laugh because
yes, I know. I thought he was going to go there. I know.
No, not you. It's just the Boston Red Sox fans out there that thought it was going to happen or thought it excuse me, thought it was possible. But I think it's very interesting. I do believe Yamamoto will make a decision right after Christmas. So I think like the 30th before New Year's, he will make a decision and it will be brought to everybody's attention on January 1st. But it's an interesting thing. There's really nothing more to get into until it happens.
Yeah, I wonder too with the Giants too. They were always a team that was very in on Yamamoto too, but did not visit with them yet either. Maybe he's going to consider that back on the West Coast too. But you wonder how much time they have.
Got a hairball, but
yeah, you wonder how much time they have because of this window. And he wanted to originally sign before Christmas, which is 5 days away. So if you're going on that time bomb, like the Giants are going to have to meet with him fast in order to do that. And the Dodgers, like you said, are probably out now because they not only did they trade for Glass, they signed him already. 5 years, $135 million already. They signed him right after they traded him. I thought they were going to see, all right, can they fix his mechanics? Can they make sure he doesn't get hurt? And then make a decision after that. They're confident in that kind of thing, and they're going to get Buehler back. Dustin May we'll see on him, who was a top prospect a couple of years ago, who has had some injury issues too. But it seems like you're right. They're going to be out on them now. The Yankees definitely look like a heavy favorite. The Phillies, I always say they're the wild card for everybody, like I said with Soto and a bunch of others, because they love to spend money. Dombrowski loves to spend money, so you can't rule it out. If there's any team that would try to give him the $300 million, maybe sway him that way, it might be the Phillies, but I would say the Yankees are still the lead, and I also wouldn't rule out if they still visit him, the Giants.
From a post-nasal drip to absolutely the flu all weekend long, I'm dealing with this cough. I'm trying to push it away, and I don't even know how I got through the show, but it's crazy. The Corbin Burnes latest, MLB.com, Mark Feinsand reports that the Brewers will likely trade Corbin Burnes either in the offseason or during the season. If the teams were to trade for him in the offseason, Burnes would be open to get qualifying offers, something that wouldn't be available once this season starts. Former MLB catcher Eric Kratz, an ex-teammate of Burnes, says that it would have to get blown away by a potential extension for him to not enter free agency in 2025. Burnes is also likely to sign an extension based on what Yamamoto is going to receive in free agency this year. The Yankees, Braves, Blue Jays, Rangers are teams likely to deal for Burnes depending on the Yamamoto situation. Last season, Burnes had a 3.39 ERA, a 1.07 whip, 66 walks, and 200 strikeouts in 194 innings. Pitched in his career, Burnes has a 3.26 ERA, a 1.05 whip, 206 walks, and an 870 strikeouts in 709 innings pitched. Man, I'm trying to get through this. Yeah, I'm trying to get this thing out of my throat, but Yeah, so Corbin Burnes is one of the best pitchers that are going to be available on the offseason next year. There's a lot of questions on where he could go if he gets traded this year. I could see the Brewers trading him at the trade deadline because they can get the most out of him. If he has a good season, they're not re-signing him. He does not want to go back to the Brewers. They need to get as much as they can for him. If they let him go to free agency, they're going to lose him for nothing. I can't see the Brewers doing it. I think Corbin Burnes is one of the best pitchers in baseball right now. He's not even in the prime of his career. He's 27 right now. He is a tremendous pitcher that could pitch in the National League, the American League. He could pitch anywhere. I think his stuff is as good as anybody's in baseball. I could see the Red Sox getting involved with this very, very quickly. I know their names are not being brought up, but I could see the Red Sox. If the Yankees do lose out on Yamamoto, I do believe the Yankees will go full force after a guy like Corbin Burnes, because he would fit perfectly in this rotation. You put him at really number 2, and if Garrett Cole decides to opt out of his contract in the offseason, which he probably will, he could be their number 1 guy.
Yeah, you wonder too, with a new front office too. Obviously, David Stearns leaving for the Mets, new GM, new executives all at once, trying to deal with this kind of thing with Corbin Burnes, who had a kind of a down year for his standards. He was great the previous 3 years, won a Cy Young, was even good as a reliever in the first couple of years of his career with the Brewers. Those years they made the playoffs, they almost made it to the World Series. And his value is still going to be very good because he's a guy that has great stuff, great strikeout stuff, and has been pretty consistent year to year too. And that's what's going to make it hard for the Brewers to try to get that kind of value back now. And you wonder, if they don't get that kind of value right away, are they going to wait into the season, see if he gets back to that quote-unquote peak form? And if the Brewers still aren't competing, then try to trade him at that point. What scares me is when you look at the Mets, like the Mets, it's perfect for that kind of thing for them to be able to trade for him because they're going to get him on a low. They just restocked this farm system nicely, and they still need a lot of pitching really badly no matter what. But now the Braves are in on it too, and the Braves have a lot of young players to trade too. The Rangers have a lot of young players to trade too. And like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if the Red Sox are in it as well.
Oh, the Red Sox will definitely be in it. Right now, their names are not being brought up, and the Braves will be in it because they have a great farm system. Every team that has a good farm system, the Blue Jays being another one, the Yankees don't, just so everybody knows. So the Yankees are going to have to really nitpick on who they want to trade for Corbin Burnes. They just gave away one of their best young pitchers and I believe a future Cy Young candidate. I think the Yankees did what they needed to do to add Soto, and we'll see if they can re-sign him. But Corbin Burnes is going to be a big name. The Mets are definitely going to be in on him if they strike out on Yamamoto. And if they don't strike out on Yamamoto, I do believe Corbin Burnes will be traded somewhere and somehow in the middle of the season. Woj reports that several teams have called on the Warriors about trading possibilities because of their struggles this season. Draymond Green was suspended indefinitely last week for the result of multiple issues this season. Both Andrew Wiggins and Klay Thompson have also had bad years for their standards. Wiggins has been benched in several games this year, and Klay Thompson is having his worst scoring season since the second year in his NBA career. Woj says that the trade rumors will likely show them being buyers not wanting to spoil another great season for Steph Curry or from Steph Curry. Curry is averaging 28 points per game, 4.8 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game, shooting 41% from the three, and 93.4% of the free throw line. The Warriors are 11th in the Western Conference with a 13-14 record and will be without Draymond for a minimum of 3 weeks and most likely longer. It's going to be longer. I don't expect Draymond Green to be back this year, and if he does, shame on Adam Silver. I think he's an absolute joke, and I think the NBA needs to put their foot down on this guy. He doesn't belong in the NBA if he's going to do the things that he does. He doesn't own the NBA. He doesn't run the NBA. And I think he thinks that he can do whatever he damn well pleases. It doesn't work like that anymore. It did work like that in the 90s. Ask Anthony Mason or Charles Oakley or whoever you want to ask. Dennis Rodman, Bill Laimbeer, or the bad boy Pistons. Anybody you want to name. It worked then. This is not the NBA that you can do what you do and do what you want to do. Draymond Green for years thinks that he has every right to do what he wants to do because he's Draymond Green. The game doesn't work that way anymore. And Adam Silver needs to figure out what works for the NBA and what doesn't work for the NBA. And Draymond Green doesn't work. If they're going to play this I guess you could say pee-wee game, and that's what it is. The NBA is a pee-wee game where you put a finger on somebody, you go to the free throw line. To me, it doesn't work when you have a guy that wants to choke you out, knock you out, kick you in certain places that don't make sense, and do other things off the field or the court that makes no sense. So as far as the Wiggins thing and the Klay Thompson's a shell of himself. If you want to take on that contract, good luck. He stinks. The Splash Brothers are no more. He is the splash powder because that's what he's the powder that Kevin Garnett likes to throw in the air. Well, he liked to throw in the air at the time that he was throwing in, or LeBron James playing with himself on the sidelines with the chalk or whatever the heck he's throwing in the air.
The powder.
I mean, seriously, I don't understand that, by the way. But as far as I'm concerned with Andrew Wiggins, I think Andrew Wiggins needs another location. I think he needs to go somewhere else. I think he's a good player. I still think he's one of the better defenders at his position in the league. I think he's a good two-way player. I think he's a 20-7 or 28-8 guy. He's a little bit less than RJ Barrett. I think that's the type of player that we would want RJ Barrett to be, maybe a little bit better. But Andrew Wiggins is a winning player. He helped win a championship. He was a big part of them winning the last time that they won. People forget that. I think teams could use a player of that magnitude. As far as Steph Curry is concerned, he's your only option to trade that anybody's going to want. You can get a lot for Steph Curry. You can get draft picks, top-end draft picks for him. He goes to a team, he automatically gives him a chance to win. I think that's the guy they should be looking to move.
Yeah, the dilemma for the Warriors is, do you want to try to trade somebody to help out Steph Curry to still try to compete in what has been a kind of top-heavy Western Conference, or are you going to just try to just sell everything off now? Don't trust that Draymond Green is going to come back, because Draymond Green, there's no guarantee when or if he's going to come back.
Who cares if he does? What is he, a game changer?
Yeah, and even on the court this year, he has not been the same player either. Like you were saying, Klay Thompson, where he still was scoring very well last year, led the league in 3-pointers. He has regressed defensively last year, and this year he's not even scoring the same way either. 16.8 points per game is the third worst total in his career. His second year in the league, and his rookie year were the only years he was worse. And that shows you really have a lot of assets to trade either. It's not like the Warriors have all this young talent that they could trust to be able to play. These guys have barely played because Steve Kerr doesn't play them enough. So what kind of sample do you have to trade somebody like Kuminga or Moses Moody, guys that were good prospects that they have not seen the court very much? The Warriors front court is horrible right now. Yeah, and the Warriors front court, their front court depth is horrible. That's why they had all these rumors in the offseason. They might trade for Towns. They might trade it for, in the past, it was Anthony Davis. Everyone thought
they don't have a chance to get any of those guys.
Nobody
wants those guys.
No, not anymore. You probably would have think, okay, maybe you trade Wiggins and that kind of deal, but he's lost value.
They
now.
Traded Wiseman for nothing. Right. They gave up all these youngsters, Poole, all these guys that everybody thought had a future when Steph Curry decides to step away, or Draymond Green doesn't get re-signed, or Klay Thompson is gone. So it just hasn't worked for them. That's why the GM decided to step down last year. And I expect Steve Kerr to not be re-signed in the offseason. I think they're going to go elsewhere. Yeah. And Steph Curry is going to want to be traded. I wouldn't want to be there if I was Steph Curry. I think there are other teams, and many teams, that'll be interested in the talent of Steph Curry. I'm not hating on Steph Curry on his talent. I still think he has a tremendous ability to shoot the ball. I just think that he is the only option they have to trade that anybody's going to want. You want to rebuild this team? You want to build this team into a contender again, or give them a future? You trade Steph Curry. It doesn't make sense to trade any of these other guys because nobody wants them. You're not getting a lot for Andrew Wiggins. What are you going to get? A future first-round draft, a protected first-round draft,
or one
pick?
Like way down the line.
Yeah, or Klay Thompson. You're not getting more than a second-round draft pick for him.
Yeah,
he's not good. You're taking on a contract, and you're dealing with the craziness of Klay Thompson. This guy has been more of a crybaby off the court than he was or is as a basketball player. It doesn't work anymore. And the NBA is a young man's sport, as we see. And you see the difference in the youngsters. Look at what Jon Morant did. Yeah. I mean, Jon Morant comes back yesterday with the Grizzlies are playing horrible basketball, and then he gets the game-winning shot. He's going to change that team all the way around because of the talent and the ability that he has athletically. And he changes everything by what he produces and what he obviously brings to the table. So they don't have that anymore. They're an old team. Klay Thompson's in his 30s, or his mid-30s. I know in basketball years, that's old. In regular years, he's a kid, okay? Steph Curry is in his mid-30s. You have Draymond Green in his mid-30s. These guys are old. They're not young anymore. And that's why their GM decided to step down, because he knows he's going to be looking elsewhere in the future, and he can build and obviously look at other options that he's going to have in the future. There's no options to this team and this organization. To me, this organization has obviously gone as far as they can, and they've done very, very well for themselves. 3 titles or whatever they have. Is it 3 titles?
It's 4
4
now,
titles.
4
That's right.
now, yeah.
Yes, 4 titles after the last one that they won against the Celtics. I forgot the other one before that. But, yeah. So they have 4 titles, and they deserve all the credit in the world, but it's done now. They're done, and it's time to move on. The team to watch now in the Western Conference is Denver. That's where I would look.
Yeah, and Carl says Bill Bowles trade Levine for Steph Curry. Carl, you have to trade a lot more than that in order to get Steph Curry. Steph Curry is still having an unbelievable year for his for Eddie's standards this year, and on a team that, like Errol was saying, Wiggins is down, Klay Thompson is down. Like he's really carrying the team where they're not like 5-19 right now or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it could have been a lot worse. And you look at the Warriors from a perspective of the fans. Like Steph Curry's gonna is that something that the fans are even gonna accept if they have to go get to that point too? Now he has a big contract. We'll see how easy it is, that kind of thing, to move. But it's the only shot they have in order to try to rebuild this team either.
They're not rebuilding, and I don't know why you're even thinking that it's going to happen.
And then the only other shot that they have to really trade these other assets is another team maybe trying to look for trading bad assets of their own and get a change of scenery type thing. Maybe is the only thing that maybe that's what the Bulls would consider. Would
trade them to Boston. Trade them all to Boston.
Carl, if you want to do it for the Bulls, would you rather consider like a Klay Thompson and something else for Levine swap or something like that, just to get, because Zach Levine's not happy there. So like,
they both stink. They both are overrated. They're both not the same players they once were. Levine is an offensive player, but he doesn't play any defense. Why would you want him? And Klay Thompson, forget about it. He has never played defense or hasn't played defense since he tore his Achilles. So it's done.
Which, why would that benefit the Bulls either?
No.
Because the Bulls are not getting much younger that way either. Klay Thompson.
Billy Donovan don't want him anyways. He's a crybaby. He's trying to get rid of those crybabies. So
right. And again, would you trade Klay Thompson and say Moody or something like that for the Warriors for Levine? And like that kind of thing doesn't help the Bulls either. So the Warriors need to find that perfect combination of another kind of down team in order to do that, which where is that team in the NBA unless you're trying to deal with the Suns or something like that, who have also been kind of bad this year? Like, would they trade old guy for old guy and try to rejuvenate themselves with other guys? Get Durant back? I don't know, but still. Like,
Durant's not going anywhere. He's staying in Phoenix to whenever his contract is up. The guy that you have to look at is Devin Booker. I mean, Devin Booker will be available if Phoenix falls apart, which it looks like now. They lost Bradley Beal for a significant amount of time. They're the only option they have is to trade Booker, because Devin Booker is still very young, and he's under contract for at least 2 more years, and he's a guy that a lot of teams could really take on and build around. So he's the only option they have. When you have options like that, and that's what, and I'm not sticking up for the Knicks or blowing the Knicks up. They have options. The Knicks have young players that teams are going to want. And that's why the Knicks are in the driver's seat if they want to make a trade for, a guy like Donovan Mitchell, or they want to make a trade for Cat. They have options. They have young players that teams are interested in. So that's what makes the team like the Knicks a place to want to play. You want to play Madison Square? You want to play for Tom Thibodeau? You want to play with Jalen Brunson? You have a chance. So I'm just mentioning the Knicks are a team that they have options, and they have draft stock, protecting picks, which don't work out for the Knicks, but they still have picks.
They're NBA draft picks. They're not always the greatest anyway.
Anyways, that's it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to Texas Rangers play-by-play broadcaster and studio analyst Jared Sandler. He was fantastic. And thank you to obviously ex-Bengals and Commanders tight end Rick Doc Walker. He was fantastic. Thank you to all the fans out there that tune into us. Thank you to all the fans that obviously stick with us throughout the show. Thank you for all the downloaders, everybody throughout the country. We really appreciate all the craziness, and I hope everybody enjoys what we do here and the transformation of what we believe radio should be, and what radio is transcending throughout the world and the country. So thank you. I want to apologize for me being sick. But I got through the show. So all the fans out there, you know how dedicated I am. I am sick, and I'm still out here giving you the best show that I possibly can. And that says a lot about me, and says a lot about what I try to do for the fans that are listening to us. So thank you to all the fans throughout the country. Thank you to you, Speedy. It's been crazy year as always, and crazy more years moving forward. And I expect us to be on a national stage doing what we do throughout the world. So again, you are the face, and what we do here, and we appreciate you as always.
Carl says cleanse the mic before you leave, Harold. He probably will. Don't worry. Also says Nithin covering curling this weekend.
What happened to Nithin?
I don't know. I told him to come in at 9:45, and he didn't come in.
He'll probably pop in after the show. So thank you to Nithin for not popping in. But maybe tomorrow, Nithin. But anyways, who do we have on tomorrow?
So 8:30, our guy that you had with Lyle, Neil Smith, will be coming on. He will be coming on at 8:30. Ex-Rangers GM, 94 Stanley Cup champion.
You're excited about that.
Yes, he will be coming on at 8:30. And then at 9:30, we have Butch Chaffin, who's a Team USA baseball coach, assistant coach. He will be coming on at 9:30. And he is also a Yankee fan, so maybe you could pitch your Mark DeRosa to the Yankees idea, because he knows Mark.
Maybe you can get us Mark DeRosa.
Maybe, yeah.
I'm definitely excited about that. Great show lined up tomorrow. But thank you again, and we will talk to you tomorrow. Good night.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews.